Chapter 1181. In the sorcerer-sacred land of the northern continent, the 12 sorcerer queens arrived and knelt in front of the central altar to greet the new sorcerer emperor. Purple mist swirled around the central altar. Sorceress Tian Xian stood quietly in the purple mist as her royal aura continued to rise. She inherited the fate inheritance and became a supreme being. Tian Xian, who had been reborn, took over the sorcerer tribe's destiny and led the 12 sorcerer queens forward. "Attack!" Tian Xian said. Her voice was calm but firm. The war between the sorcerer tribe and the demon tribe started again. Yes. The 12 sorcerer queens, led by sorcerer queens Yu, Hongxue, and Baiji, accepted the order. The sorcerer tribe army went south again to fight the heavenly demon tribe. Half a day later, 200,000 soldiers marched out at the border of the sorcerer tribe's sacred land. The sight of them covering the sky shocked the entire northern continent. In the center of the sacred land, Tian Xian stood on the central altar, as the purple mist around her disappeared. At the same time, the 6 palace masters who were guarding the sacred region in the western sacred region all moved out. The sacred region army gathered again, and headed to the western front of the primeval demon region. At the top of the sacred region, in front of the sun god statue, the sacred leader of the Golden Lion tribe looked solemn. He was surrounded by golden light as he looked at the battlefield in the distance. The final battle was coming, and this battle would decide the future of the primeval demon region. The flames of war are always so fascinating. On the eastern continent, the lord of the divine capital, Yuluowu, stood quietly on the divine capital mountain. He was wearing dark red armor that was as dazzling as fire. Behind him, the 3 most powerful divine generals of the divine capital walked over and knelt down. "It's your turn," Yuluowu said lightly. "Yes." The 3 immortal generals of Luoyang accepted the order respectfully. Then they stood up and left. The 3 sovereign tribes moved together. The Scaled tribe in the south and the Stone tribe in the southeast. The Scaled emperor and the Stone emperor spoke at the same time. All the top forces of their tribes were sent out. The war against the demons had reached its climax. In the heavenly demon ancestral land of the primeval demon region, 7 suns circled around. The 7 luminaries' demonic emperor's royal aura rose as he helped the 8 desolation demon emperor heal. The result of the battle between the shamans and the devils was beyond everyone's expectations. Golden thunderbolts surged out from the arms of the 8 desolation devil emperor, and the mysterious forbidden art of the shaman tribe was constantly devouring the life force of the devil emperor. The wound on the chest of the 8 desolation demonic emperor, that was pierced by the ascension divine weapon, could not be healed. Even with the peerless heavenly demonic emperor physique, it was hard for him to regenerate. The 7 brilliance demon emperor's injuries showed no signs of improvement after several days of recuperation. He withdrew his hand with a grim expression. "The lightning on your wound is unusual," the 7 brilliance demon emperor said in a deep voice. "At your current rate of recovery, you won't fully recover even after 100 years. The 8 desolation demon emperor opened his eyes. With a tired expression he said, "I was too careless. I didn't think that Emperor Go would still have such a terrifying power when he passed away. There's one thing that I don't understand. You clearly had the upper hand in the battle against Emperor Go at the beginning. Why did you suddenly fall into a disadvantageous position?" The 7 brilliance demon emperor asked in confusion. The 8 desolation demon emperor fell silent. After a long while he said in an uncertain tone, "I have my doubts too. Emperor Go's moves are unpredictable. I've never seen them before, especially when I executed the 9 changes of the heavenly demon. It seemed like Emperor Go had been preparing for a long time to counter my heavenly demon martial art." The 7 brilliance demon emperor's face stiffened slightly. A moment later his eyes widened as he thought of a terrifying possibility. The shaman tribe agreed to the terms of the peace talks. The 7 brilliance demon emperor said with a dark expression, "I understand now. The shaman tribe agreed to the terms of the peace talks because of the 9 changes secret technique of our tribe." He was wondering why the shaman tribe would propose such a strange condition. After all, no one apart from the heavenly demon tribe was able to cultivate the 9 changes of the heavenly demon. Now that he thought about it, there were too many strange things. The 9 changes of the heavenly demon is almost perfect. It should be flawless, the 8 desolation demon emperor said sternly. Maybe we've been too confident. The 7 brilliance demon emperor said in a deep voice. The emperor of the shaman tribe is a terrifying figure, who can peek into the heavenly secrets. The 9 changes of the heavenly demon might not be perfect in my eyes. Otherwise, the emperor of the shaman tribe, who was on the verge of death, wouldn't have been able to injure you so badly in the previous battle. The 8 desolation demon emperor frowned. If that was the case, they had been set up. 13th brother. The 8 desolation demon emperor said coldly. Could it be him? He was the one who proposed the terms of the peace talks. If he's colluding with the shaman tribe, it would explain everything that happened before. The 7 brilliance demon emperor fell silent. He pondered for a long time before shaking his head and saying, it's unlikely. With 13th brother's status in the heavenly demon royal tribe, there's no need for him to do such a thing. He's the crown prince of the heavenly demon royal tribe. He won't gain anything if the heavenly demon royal tribe is defeated. The 8 desolation demon emperor pondered and nodded. The possibility was slim indeed. As a disciple of 9 serenities, betraying the heavenly demon royal tribe was not worth it. Report. At that moment, an anxious voice came from the ancestral ground. A messenger appeared from the surging demonic chi and said while half kneeling, we've received news from the front line. The 5 Imperials have launched an attack at the same time. The east, west, north, and south borders have all fallen. Only Prince Xuanqi's territory in the southeast is still standing. The 7 brilliance demon emperor and the 8 desolation demon emperor's faces darkened. What was going to happen had finally come. Gandharv. The 7 brilliance demon emperor called out. Yes, my lord. The rift shook as a beautiful figure appeared. She had the appearance of a young girl with a voluptuous figure. She was surrounded by flowing ribbons. Her extraordinary temperament was quite eye-catching. Head to the battlefield in the north at once and assist Prince Xiankong in fending off the army of the shaman tribe. The 7 brilliance demon emperor said. Yes. Gandharv accepted the order respectfully. She disappeared with a flicker. The battlefield in the west is the key. Now that the dragons are injured, Garuda won't be able to fend off the 2 palace masters of the sacred region alone. The 8 brilliance demon emperor said sternly. The 8 desolation demon emperor said solemnly. We must find a way to send reinforcements to the western battlefield. Otherwise, once the western front is defeated, the morale of our soldiers will be greatly affected. Azura is still in seclusion. We have no choice but to awaken one of the 8 by force. The 7 brilliance demon emperor said sternly. Yiksha. The 8 desolation demon emperor said solemnly. Among the remaining octatic, the strongest is Yiksha, but even if Yiksha wakes up, it will be very difficult to reverse the West's defeat. Not Yiksha. The 7 brilliance demon emperor said coldly. Strength isn't the only factor that determines the outcome of the battle. I have a candidate in mind, Luemo Gennaruo. Hearing this, the 8 desolation demon emperor frowned. After a while he nodded thoughtfully and said, if it's him, together with Garuda, they might really be able to stop the army of the Western Holy Region. Messenger. Yes. Pass on my order. Head to Mount Rama immediately and awaken Luemo Gennaruo. Yes. The messenger received the order, and did not delay any further. His figure flashed out and flew towards Mount Ramo in the east. Just as the primordial demon realm was in chaos, in the 13th prince's residence in the heavenly devil imperial city, 2 figures were facing each other with their swords constantly buzzing. One of the 2 was wearing a silver-white court robe and a black and white hat. His strange attire revealed his identity. The eastern region lord of the number 1 pavilion, Guxing Tian, was also the strongest person in the 4 profound realms. His strength was unfathomable. Opposite the eastern region lord, a white-haired figure in plain clothes stood quietly. In his hand there was a divine sword covered in cracks. The sword radiance was piercing to the soul. Your sword can no longer withstand your sword pressure. It will be destroyed after one more battle. Guxing Tian said as he looked at the demonic weapon in the former's hand. A person has a soul and a sword has a breath. I can hear the sound of the moon and water reversing. If I can reach the end of my life in this battle, I will have no regrets. Ningchen said softly. It is my honor to spar with a sword expert like you. Please. As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Xingtian unsheathed Tian. In an instant, the sword moved and the person moved. When the sword expert arrived, Ning Chen didn't dodge. He used the moon and water reversing to meet the sword expert head-on. With a rumbling sound, the two swords clashed. The two swords were fast and heavy. In the blink of an eye, the sword moves were simple but sharp. Both of them had peak sword skills. They had abandoned their cultivation and only focused on the sword. In the northwest corner of the palace, the little gourd sat on the back of the white tiger. He was so nervous that he didn't dare to breathe loudly. Big Tiger, will the immortal win? The little gourd asked softly. Woo. The white tiger nodded vigorously. The little gourd was less nervous when he heard that. He also thought so. Sword 11. After exchanging 10 moves, Ning Chen took a step forward and his sword spun 11 times. Instantly, sword chi gushed out like a waterfall. It was a perfect sword in the mortal world. The sword chi was boundless as it slashed towards the peerless swordsman in front of him. It was a sword move that had never been seen before. It was so stunning. Gu Xingtian focused and fixed his body. Kuan Tian crossed the sky. The first of the three swords was the star sword. When the star sword appeared, the sky was filled with stars. Thousands of sword lights broke through the sky and clashed with the perfect sword in the mortal world. With a rumbling sound, the sword moves devoured each other. When the aftershock arrived, both of them were forced back half a step. They were evenly matched. Ka. The ear-piercing sound of the sword cracking sounded again. In Ning Chen's hand, the moon demon divine weapon cracked again. There was no part of the sword that was still intact. It was about to collapse. This is the last move. I salute your glorious life. Ning Chen held his sword horizontally and slashed across the sword with his finger. The sword intent around him surged rapidly. The entire God-forbidden space changed. The sword world opened and the Emperor appeared. Sword Emperor. One sword reflected 10,000 swords. The heaven and earth cried out. A shocking pressure spread out endlessly. In the sword world, Ning Chen's figure soared into the sky. Wherever his will was, the sword would follow. This was a shocking move. He could not be careless. Gu Xingtian took a step forward and pointed his finger at the sword. He unleashed all of his sword cultivation. In an instant, a sword sun rose into the sky. The scorching sword pressure surged out. In the next moment, the two swords clashed, and in the midst of an earth-shattering collision, a crisp sound rang out as the moon demon divine sword broke. Gu Xingtian couldn't retract his attack in time, and blood spurted out from Ning Chen's right arm. The broken sword fell to the ground. The God-forbidden space could not stop it. The entire 3 imperial cities shook violently. The last sword light broke through the barrier of the God-forbidden space and soared into the sky. It was so brilliant and bright. Ning Chen raised his head and looked at the dazzling light in the sky. His expression was surprisingly calm. The moon reversal had finished its glorious life. However, his path was not over yet. Next, it was time for him to do his best. Chapter 1182. In the 5 battlefields of the primordial demon region, the flames of war spread for tens of thousands of miles. In the north, the 12 witch queens led a 200,000-strong witch tribe army to attack. They covered the sky, shocking the sky demon army in the north. In front of the sky demon army, 5th Prince Xiankong stood in the air. He looked at the 12 witch queens with a solemn expression. There was no doubt that Emperor Go's death had infuriated the witch tribe. The war that followed would truly be endless. Beside Xiankong, Gandharv stood quietly. A strange fragrance wafted around her. It was light, elegant, and intoxicating. Let's do it. As the witch tribe army approached, Xiankong glanced at the 8 beside him and said. Gandharv nodded. Her figure flashed and flew into the sky. At that moment, the sky was filled with flying flowers. The pink flowers spread with the wind. 10 miles, 100 miles, 1,000 miles. It was a shocking scene that had never been seen before. Gandharv attacked. The fragrance of the flowers covered the entire battlefield. In front of the witch tribe army, the soldiers smelled the fragrance and felt their vital essence stagnate. Their bodies fell from the sky. The fragrance is poisonous. Among the 12 witch queens, the dark moon witch queen sensed that something was wrong. She used the power of the dark moon. Immediately moonlight spread out, blocking the fragrance from spreading in the army. Red snow. With the flower fragrance temporarily blocked, the dark moon witch queen looked at the red witch queen and shouted. The red snow witch queen nodded. She unsheathed her red sword and waved it. Red snow danced in the air. An extremely cold chi broke through the air. Wherever it passed, the flying flowers were frozen. The fragrance could no longer spread. The red ice flowers that fell from the sky were so beautiful. In the air, Gandharv frowned slightly. The 12 witch queens had different abilities. They were not easy to deal with. Kill the red snow witch queen first. Gandharv said telepathically. In front of the sky demon army, Prince Xiankong nodded with a serious expression. He could also tell that the red snow shaman empress restrained Gandharv's abilities. If she could not be eliminated, it would be very difficult for Gandharv to use her poison. 4 royals, 5 messengers, set up the formation. Xiankong said. Yes. Under Wang's order, 9 powerful figures rushed into the sky. 4 to 5 of them formed a formation. Terrifying demonic chi spread out. Darkness descended and covered the entire battlefield. Something's wrong. The 12 shaman queens looked at the horizon, their expressions changing. Darkness descended. There was no longer any light in the battlefield. Xiankong moved in front of the heavenly demon army. In the blink of an eye, he arrived before the 12 shamans. Demonic essence gathered, and a heavy palm strike struck out at full power. Xiankong sent out a palm strike at the red snow shaman empress. Danger came, and the red longsword in the red snow witch empress's hand instinctively swept out. At the instant her palm and sword clashed, she felt a tremendous, majestic force, and she retreated a few steps. The splattering blood dyed the sword red. The red snow shaman empress staggered and stabilized herself. Before she could suppress her injuries, the palm strike arrived once more. At the moment of life and death, a white shadow flashed by. The witch queen Baiji stood in front of him. Her delicate hands condensed the power of 100 refinements, and she forcefully resisted the demon cultivator's palm power. With an earth-shattering strike, the 2 people's palms collided. Baijiwu was forced back half a step. Her foundation was slightly inferior. The physical abilities of the Empyrean Devil Royal family were unparalleled. Even though Prince Xiankong was slightly weaker than Xianlai and Xianqi, the 2 legendary cultivators of the Empyrean Devil Royal family, his cultivation had also reached a shocking level. Let's work together. With one move everyone knew. The witch queen Baiji didn't underestimate him. With a light shout, her figure flashed and attacked the Empyrean Devil Prince. Not far away, the red snow witch empress suppressed the surging blood chi in her body. She stepped forward and attacked with her sword. With the 2 witch empresses working together, the battle immediately became white-hot. In the dark space, Gandharv stood in the air and chanted spells. The strange fragrance around her rose again and spread silently to all sides of the battle. After a few breaths, casualties appeared in the witch tribe army again. Thousands of soldiers were poisoned and lost their souls, crashing onto the ground. You guys break the formation. I'll deal with this person. The Dark Moon Witch Empress ordered the other 9 witch empresses. She then stepped into the air and flew to the horizon. Fei Yu and the other witch empresses accepted the order. They looked at the 4 regions and 5 envoys in the air. Their figures flashed and flew toward the 9 of them. The war had begun. In the dark battlefield, soldiers fought soldiers, generals fought generals, and everyone displayed their unique abilities. Just as the war in the northern battlefield began, the most eye-catching battlefield in the Western Front, the Sacred Region Army launched an attack. The Heavenly Devil Army that had retreated thousands of miles was forced to face the enemy. The war began again. With Luo Jia and Shama as the leaders and the 5 palace lords of the Sacred Region in the army, the Sacred Region Army broke through 10 formations consecutively. In the Heavenly Devil camp, Garuda looked at the army that was retreating in defeat. Displeasure flashed across his face. Although he didn't care if the Heavenly Devil clan won or lost, being suppressed like this really made him unhappy. We can't wait any longer. Attack. Beside him, Long Zhong spoke with a grave expression. Attack? How? Are you going to fight them with your injured body? If you're not afraid of death, you can attack. I won't stop you. Garuda said indifferently. Long Zhong's expression turned ugly. Among the 8, Garuda was the most uncontrollable. It was impossible for him to sacrifice his life for the Heavenly Devil clan. After attacking for a long time, Shama and Luo Jia walked out from the Sacred Region army. They looked at the 2-8 in the Heavenly Devil army in front of them. Without further delay, they rushed out and attacked the 2. How troublesome! Seeing the 2 Sacred Region palace lords rushing over, Garuda's face flashed with displeasure. He spread out his wings and went up to meet them. Boom! There was a shocking tremor. Garuda and the 3rd palace lord of the Sacred Region, Luo Jia, clashed. Their fists collided and the remaining energy roared and surged. Within 10 miles, the space turned into nothingness. The crushed blood and bones were quickly swallowed up in the nothingness. Whether it was the Heavenly Devil army or the Sacred Region army, under the powerful strength of the 2, they couldn't resist and exploded one after another. On the other side, the 6th palace lord, Shama, was killing the heavily injured Long Zhong. His every move was shocking. After several exchanges, the situation was clear. Long Zhong's scales were stained with blood. He was on the verge of death. Ding! At this moment, between heaven and earth, the pleasant sound of a pipa suddenly rang out. It was like the tinkling of a clear spring, spreading to everyone's heart. The sound of the music surprised everyone. Long Zhong and Garuda, who were fighting, had strange expressions flash across their faces. Gennaro! The music came without warning. Luo Jia and Shama's eyes turned serious at the same time. They were on full alert. Dong! The sound of the pipa rang out again. It was still crisp and pleasant, but this time, there were more changes. The killing intent gradually rose, disturbing people's heartstrings. Bang! In the Sacred Region army, a Sacred Region soldier's body exploded. The shocking scene shocked everyone present. After the first explosion, a second, a third, more than 10 explosions rang out in succession. Blood fell from the sky like rain. Shama, find him! In the battle, Luo Jia swept his gaze across the battlefield and said in a deep voice, "Understood." Not far away, Shama nodded and clasped his hands together. Immediately, the Supreme Buddha behind him appeared in the human world. Dazzling golden light rapidly spread out in all directions. The Supreme Buddha appeared and Sanskrit chants rang out. His words of awakening spread throughout the battlefield, shocking everyone. The 3 manifestations, the manifestation of man, the manifestation of all living beings, and the manifestation of longevity. All manifestations are illusory. If you see that all manifestations are not manifestations, then you see Tathagata. Chapter 1183. In the western battlefield of the primordial demon region, Luemo made his move, and the situation of the battlefield changed instantly. The soldiers of the Sacred Region exploded one after another, and their blood dyed the void red. There was only the sound of music, but Gennaro, who was nowhere to be seen, changed the direction of the battle single-handedly. Seeing that the situation was unfavorable, Shama flipped his palm and pushed away the dragons in front of him. With a shout, his golden body sat cross-legged, and golden light filled the sky. The Supreme Buddha appeared in the human world again. Golden light rose, and the sound of Sanskrit was sung in the battlefield. Countless swastikas fell, intertwining into solemn Buddha statues. Some were benevolent bodhisattvas, some were angry vajras. The world of Buddhism appeared. In the battlefield, the soldiers of the demon race felt their bodies sink, as if they were in a swamp, and could not move. In the battlefield not far away, in front of Luo Jia, the master of the 3rd palace, Garuda looked at the constantly moving Buddha statues with a serious expression. It was rumored that the master of the 6th palace of the Sacred Region was the reincarnation of Buddha Emoku. His spiritual sense was unparalleled in the world, and he was said to be the person closest to the imperial path in the King realm. He was extremely powerful. Unwilling to see the situation reverse again, Garuda flapped his wings, and a fierce wind blew. In the storm, an ancient demonic halberd appeared. In an instant, the demonic energy rushed out of the world of Buddhism and divided the human world. He took a step forward, and his figure disappeared instantly. Garuda rushed toward Shama, wanting to kill Emoku. "Your opponent is me." On the opposite side of the battlefield, Luo Jia's figure rushed out at the same time, and quickly blocked in front of Garuda. He opened and closed his hands, and the illusions of large stars appeared, and in an instant they exploded. The power comparable to the explosion of a star blasted toward the Golden Rock Demon King. Garuda focused, and the Sky Baron halberd met the explosion head-on. The sound of thunder resounded through the world of Buddhism, and the terrifying impact spread rapidly, destroying all laws. Garuda was blocked. Not far away, the brilliance around Shama's body became even brighter, and the golden world of Buddhism spread rapidly, looking for traces of Luo. In the battlefield, the loud sound of the pipa became more and more urgent. Gradually, it was like an army galloping, and the world began to shake. In the battlefield, the casualties of the sacred region soldiers increased. The demonic sound penetrated their bodies, and waterfalls of blood bloomed in the world. It was so beautiful that it made one's heart beat. In the contest of time, the Sanskrit and demonic sounds collided. Shama's divine sense was fully unleashed as he searched for the source of the demonic sounds. In the distant horizon, behind a spatial formation, an illusory figure stood in midair. He held a pipa in his hand, and every time he plucked it, sound waves would sweep out from all directions. It was difficult to determine his location. The golden Buddha world expanded endlessly. The demonic sound collided with the Buddha world, causing it to shake violently. In the center of the Buddha world, Shama opened his eyes. Golden light blossomed, extremely dazzling. 6 paths reincarnation. The origin of the demonic sound from all directions was difficult to discern. Without any hesitation, Shama clasped his hands together. The river of stars flickered in his hands as a terrifying power struck out in all directions. Ding! The 6 paths of reincarnation descended. Behind the space array, Gennaro's expression sank slightly. She plucked the pipa in her hand, and the demonic sound spread out rapidly, blocking the attack from the center of the Buddha world. As the Buddha and the devil clashed, heaven and earth tilted. Under the 6 paths of reincarnation, the demonic sound quickly dissipated, unable to resist the power of reincarnation. Behind the spatial array, the aftermath of the impact arrived. Immediately after, Nero's figure flashed, avoiding the aftermath of the Buddha's attack. Found you. In the center of the Buddha world, Shama's eyes shone brightly. She looked into the distance, and her figure disappeared. In an instant, she arrived in front of the spatial array. The 6 paths of reincarnation reappeared, shaking heaven and earth with yin and yang. In Shama's hands, 6 small worlds flickered and pressed against the spatial array in front of her. Gennaro focused, and the demonic essence around her surged. She raised her 3 strings and gathered all her power. Just as the Buddha and the devil clashed again, the roar of the 9 heavens shook the world. A huge dragon claw broke through the sky and grabbed at the 6th palace master. Shama raised his head and looked at the horizon. His palm turned, and the 6 paths of reincarnation held up the sky, colliding with the dragon claw. The Buddha energy and demonic power collided. The 6 paths of reincarnation was unstoppable, and it directly sent the 8 division dragons flying. In the horizon, blood splattered, falling like rain. The heavily injured dragon clan was injured again, and most of the scales on their bodies were shattered. However, after a moment of resistance, Gennaro's figure had disappeared after the spatial array. His whereabouts were unknown. Shama frowned and broke the spatial array in front of him with a punch. His divine sense swept across the other 3 spatial arrays, and he turned and rushed towards one of them. In the Buddha world, the reverberating demonic sound became stronger and stronger, and the casualties of the sacred domain soldiers also increased. In the sky, figures constantly fell, smashing into the ground. The battle situation was tense, and there was no time to waste. In the Buddha world, 10,000 Buddhas chanted, and the sound of Sanskrit spread. They used Buddhism to suppress the devil, limiting the power of the demonic sound to the greatest extent. At the same time, Shama's figure flashed, and he poured his energy into it. A tyrannical punch blasted towards another spatial array. After the spatial array, Gennaro, who was prepared, was the first to leave, avoiding the attack of the Buddhas. Shama's expression did not change. His gaze shifted, and he looked at the last 2 spatial arrays. He clasped his hands together, and a small world appeared in his hands. The 6 paths of reincarnation appeared again. Boundless Buddha energy erupted in the Buddha world. The power of reincarnation was as vigorous as an ocean. It split into two and blasted towards the two spatial arrays in the distance. Before everyone's eyes, the 6 paths of reincarnation collided with the spatial arrays. After a moment of stalemate, the Buddha energy broke through the obstruction and blasted apart the 2 spatial arrays. The 4 arrays collapsed. In the Buddha world, Gennaro no longer had a place to hide, and his figure appeared. He had an ordinary appearance with a single horn on his head, looking somewhat strange. One of the 8 tribes' music demons, after tens of thousands of years, appeared in front of the world once again. On the opposite side, Shama stood in the air, looking at the man in front of him. His eyes narrowed slightly. Another member of the 8 tribes. The Sky Devil Imperial family's foundation was truly shocking. Just here alone, there were already 3 members of the 8 tribes. In addition, there were several princes of the Sky Devil Imperial family. If it weren't for the 5 great Imperial families joining forces, any one of them would have no chance of winning against the Sky Devil Imperial family. You all should also show yourselves. Not allowing the fierce tiger to return to the mountain, Shama looked at the 6 figures hidden in the Sacred Domain army and said. As his voice fell, 6 figures flew out from the Sacred Domain army. Together with the other 3 Sacred Domain Palace Masters, they sealed off all escape routes. The 11 Sacred Domain Palace Masters all appeared. In the 2 battlefields, Garuda, Gennaro, and Longzhong's expressions changed. They looked at the 9 Sacred Domain Palace Masters standing in different positions, their faces abnormally heavy. This was troublesome. The Sacred Domain had clearly come prepared for this battle. They must want to catch them all in one fell swoop. Garuda, you have no way out. In the battle, Wuxia, the handsome 3rd Sacred Domain Palace Master, was clad in golden armor. The stars around him flickered, and his majesty was comparable to the sovereign path, inspiring awe in the hearts of those who saw him. Garuda clenched his left fist, and a vicious look flashed in his eyes. The infinite Baron halberd surged and slashed down. The great battle began again, and the stars rose and fell. The figures of the 2 peerless powerhouses intertwined. As they fought, heaven and earth trembled, and strange phenomena appeared. Garuda was trapped, and in the other battlefield, the 6th Sacred Domain Palace Master faced Gennaro and the severely injured Longzhong alone. With every move, the Buddhist light shook the sky, suppressing the 2. Outside the battlefield, the 9 Sacred Domain Palace Masters joined forces to form a formation. The space of the Buddha world became heavier and heavier. On the Buddha wall, the Buddha statues shone brilliantly, sealing the surrounding heaven and earth. After a long time of setting up the formation, the time was up. In the center of the Buddha world, Shama put his palms together. Suddenly, endless Buddhist power erupted. In an instant, around the Buddha world, thousands of Buddhas chanted sutras, and golden Buddhist rain fell from the sky, drowning the battlefield. Tathagata destroys the world Moke infinite. The forbidden technique appeared, and in the Buddha world, the Buddha statues moved. Terrifying Buddhist power surged out like stormy waves, directly engulfing the 2 members of the 8 in front. It was a shocking scene. On the battlefield, both the Heavenly Demon Army and the Sacred Domain Army were shocked. Longzhong Gennaro. In the battle not far away, Garuda felt the terrifying power erupting behind him, and his expression changed drastically. However, there was no response from the Buddha world. In the golden Buddhist waves, the 2 members of the 8 were swallowed up and completely disappeared. After using the forbidden technique, Shama closed his eyes, and 2 drops of blood tears flowed down silently. Obviously, even the reincarnation of Moke could not completely withstand using the forbidden technique. Luojia, I'll leave Garuda to you. With his strength temporarily exhausted, Shama said wearily. He sat cross-legged in the void and began to adjust his breathing. Not far away, Luojia nodded, looking at the last and strongest member of the 8 in front of him with a dignified expression. No longer holding back, he clenched his hands, and 9 huge stars appeared in the sky. 9 stars aligned, an unparalleled scene. Luojia raised his hands, and with his flesh and blood, he channeled the power of the stars and blasted it toward the Demon King in front of him. Desolation Dragon Slaying Slash. The powerful power of the stars attacked, and Garuda's eyes were full of seriousness. He waved the desolation halberd, and the halberd broke through the sky. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded, and the heavenly demon halberd broke through one star after another. When the ninth star fell, the halberd's last trace of power was exhausted, and it collided with a loud bang. Ugh! A muffled groan sounded, and blood splashed from Garuda's arms. The power of the stars was unstoppable, and it heavily injured the Golden Rock Demon King. The shocking third palace master of the sacred region had shown his strength, and it shocked the world. One-on-one, he suppressed the 8-division Garuda. Of the 3 members of the 8, 2 were dead, and 1 was injured. The heavenly demon army had completely fallen into decline, and defeat was inevitable. At this critical moment, an incomparably terrifying aura suddenly appeared from the east. It was powerful and deep, like a bottomless abyss. The demonic clouds that covered the sky rapidly approached, and the purest demonic chi surpassed that of any member of the 8 present. Even the heavenly demon princes were inferior. In the demonic clouds, a black spear broke through the air, and with a rumble, it collided with the golden Buddha world. Crack! An ear-piercing crack sounded, and the Buddha world that had been strengthened by the 9 sacred region palace masters could not withstand the terrifying demonic chi. It collapsed inch by inch, and in the blink of an eye, it completely disappeared. In the void, Shama, who was sitting cross-legged and healing, suddenly opened his eyes. He looked at the demonic clouds in the distance, and his expression sank. This aura belonged to the heavenly demon war god, Azura. In the east, the demonic clouds pressed down, and in a few breaths of time, they had arrived at the battlefield. The war god had not appeared, but the powerful aura had already brought unparalleled pressure to everyone here. I have come to end this battlefield. A calm voice, without any emotional fluctuations, came from the demonic clouds. A demonic figure wearing black armor descended from the sky, and his aura that looked down on the world was so heavy that it made it difficult for people to breathe. The war god had appeared and heaven and earth had submitted. Azura, the famous heavenly demon war god of the ancient era, had reappeared in the world. Chapter 1184. In the western battlefield of the primordial demon domain, the demon war god had arrived. His terrifying aura shocked everyone present. The black spear flew into the war god's hand. Immediately, Azura's demonic aura surged. His demonic aura was earth-shattering. In the void, the 6th palace master Shama looked at the demon war god and stood up from his meditation. Golden light rose around him as he prepared to face the enemy. Not far away, the 3rd palace master Luojia pushed back Garuda in front of him. Stars circled around him as he fully unleashed his cultivation, guarding against the strongest enemy in front of him. Luojia, leave this to us. That demon war god. Only you and Shama can deal with him. From all sides of the battlefield, the sacred domain's palace masters rushed over and blocked Garuda's path of retreat. Among them, the 5th palace master in golden armor said seriously. Luojia retracted his gaze and looked at the palace masters around him. His expression became serious as he nodded. Then, I leave this place to you. After speaking, Luojia did not hesitate anymore. His figure flashed as he rushed towards the demon war god in front of him. After a few breaths, the 3rd palace master Luojia and the 6th palace master Shama arrived in front of Azura. The 2 strongest palace masters of the sacred domain had joined forces. The battle was about to start. Both of you are not in peak condition. This battle is meaningless. Back down. Azura's gaze swept across the 2 who had just experienced a great battle and said indifferently, I have heard of the demon war god's name. Today, I have the honor to fight. How can I back down without a fight? Luojia took 100 steps forward. 9 stars appeared around him. The boundless power of the stars increased. His aura was comparable to an emperor's, shocking the gods of the 9 heavens. On the other side, Shama clasped his hands together and 6 small worlds appeared. Heaven, earth, human, ghost, beast, and Azura, the 6 worlds rotated. The aura of death spread. Although they had just experienced a great battle, the moment they were summoned, they still had the power to destroy heaven and earth. The 2 strongest palace masters of the sacred domain had joined forces. Azura's expression also became serious. Facing a strong enemy, the fire beacon city in his hand exploded with the most dazzling light. In an instant, demonic aura surged. With a hung-long sound, the three peerless experts of the present age exchanged blows. Terrifying auras collided, shocking great vibrations resounded through a range of 10,000 li. At the very center of the battlefield, space collapsed in response. The heavens collapsed, the earth was overturned, and the universe lost its color. In the black world of nothingness, the power of the stars and the small world surged. In the middle, the war god Azura waved his flames, fighting one against two without being at a disadvantage. There were two palace lords in the holy region. One was the reincarnation of the Arhat, and the other was the head of the 12 palaces. They were both invincible under the imperial plane. Even if they faced real imperial plane cultivators, they could still fight. However, when the two of them joined forces to face the strongest war god of the demon race, after exchanging more than 10 moves, they were unable to gain the upper hand at all. Instead, they were gradually suppressed and showed signs of exhaustion. Azura, do not bully the injured. Both of you, back down. Flames danced about, demonic flames overflowing into the heavens. The Azura's luck transformed into exceptional cultivation, and a single spear forced back two people. 10 steps away, the two of them steadied themselves. Blood dripped from the corner of Sarah's mouth. She was the first to be injured. Sarah. Seeing this, Luojia's expression changed slightly. He took a step forward and opened his hands. A boundless starry river manifested in the human world. The earth-shattering power blasted towards the war god of the demon race. Brave warrior, I acknowledge you. However, the current you is unable to shake the war god. Azura's expression did not change as the starry river pressed down. Demonic chi surged out of his body, and a huge demonic god image appeared. He punched down, scattering the starry river. The impact of the shockwave forced Luojia to retreat several steps. The splashing blood dyed the golden armor red. The third palace lord of the holy region, who had fought with Garuda for a long time and was not at his peak, was also severely injured after Sarah. The situation was reversed in the blink of an eye. The holy region army, which originally had the absolute advantage, fell into a disadvantage due to the appearance of the war god of the demon race. In the endless nothingness, the two strongest palace lords of the holy region were injured. Just as their defeat was inevitable, behind Luojia, the sixth palace lord, Sarah shouted. The Buddha energy around her surged. In an instant, blood chi rushed into the sky, piercing through the nothingness. Tathagata destroys the world, infinite moke. Pushing to the limit, Sarah released all of her Buddha energy. The forbidden technique appeared again. The horrifying Buddha energy spread out rapidly, and the Buddha world appeared. When the Buddha world appeared, 10,000 Buddhas appeared in all directions. The horrifying Buddha energy surged out like raging waves, drowning the battle. Within the Buddha world, Sarah soared into the air. Blood flowed out of her golden armor, dyeing it red. Sarah. Seeing the Buddha world appear again, Luojia's expression changed. He looked back at Sarah, who was covered in blood with shock. The blood-colored Buddha world descended. Countless swastikas crisscrossed, forming a dignified Tathagata Buddha image. The powerful Buddha aura shook the world. Reversing the Buddha energy, blood chi surged. Tears of blood flowed from Sarah's eyes. Her horrifying power broke through the limits of her physical body. In an instant, imperial might appeared. On the other side, Azura felt it. Her eyes flashed. There was no mistaking the imperial aura. Luojia, from now on, the great demon slayer cause is in your hands. Before the war god, there was no holding back. Sarah sacrificed her lifespan and her blood chi overflowed, increasing the might of her forbidden technique. A power that surpassed the limit spread out in the void, quickly swallowing everything. In the void, the blood-colored Buddha energy rushed out like raging waves. Boom. In the next moment, the Buddha world collapsed. A horrifying explosion rang out, and the entire battle turned into a blood-colored world. The Buddhas used Buddha blood as a sacrifice, trapping the war god forever. After a few breaths, Luojia was blasted away by the Buddha energy. He staggered and stabilized his footing. In front of him, all he could see was a blood-colored void. This void world filled with blood origin had turned into a prison of heaven and earth, trapping the demonic war god. Retreat. In the distant battlefield, Garuda's expression sank. She flapped her wings and a fierce wind blew. The 9 palace lords, who were distracted by the changes in the distance, did not have time to stop her. The golden rock broke through the sky and disappeared into the horizon. With the war god trapped and Garuda gone, the heavenly demon army was at a disadvantage, and their defeat accelerated. In the sky above the battlefield, the blood-colored Buddha energy rolled and spread out in the void. Sarah, the 6th palace lord, sacrificed her life to seal the world with an astonishing Buddha energy. Even the war god of the demon race could not escape in a short time. Outside the void, Luojia looked at the surging blood chi in front of him and clenched his fists. Kill them all! Luojia ordered coldly as he looked at the 9 palace masters below, unable to suppress his rage. Yes! The 9 palace lords received the order. Their figures flashed, and they began to reap the lives of the heavenly demon army. Just as the heavenly demon army on the western battlefield was collapsing, the 12 Witch Queen broke through the formation of the 4 royals and 5 messengers, and defeated the heavenly demon army in the north. The northern battlefront was collapsing, and the witch army went south. In a day they conquered several cities and approached the hinterland of the primordial demon region. At the same time, the 3 strongest divine generals of the divine capital mountain appeared on the eastern battlefield. Prince Xianlai, who did not want the demon army to suffer more casualties, chose to retreat and avoid the divine capital mountain army. In the south, the other 2 kings of the scaled tribe also appeared on the battlefield. Other than the scaled king who was ordered to go to the sky beyond sky, all 6 kings of the scaled tribe had joined the battle. The 5 kings of the scaled tribe were not weak. The 6th prince of the heavenly demon army also chose to retreat and avoid the scaled tribe. In the 5 battles, 4 sides were losing. In the past few days, the battle reports from all sides of the primordial demon region kept coming to the heavenly demon imperial city. Demonic chi surged in front of the 3 emperors' palace. 2 demon emperors appeared and listened to the battle reports from the front line. The western sacred region is so powerful that they can even trap Azura. The 7 brilliance demon emperor frowned in the surging demonic chi and said sternly, "Although reincarnation is illusory, it's not completely unbelievable. The 6th palace lord of the sacred region is very powerful. It's not strange that he could trap Azura for a while by sacrificing his life to perform a forbidden technique." The 8 desolation demon emperor replied. The 7 brilliance demon emperor nodded. He looked to the west and said sternly, "Now that you're injured, we can't afford to make the first move. Otherwise, the outcome of the battle will be decided once the royal path battle begins." The master of the divine capital, the holy master of the golden lion tribe, the stone emperor, and the new emperor of the sorcerer tribe. If the 4 of them join forces, it will be disadvantageous for us. However, we still have a chess piece that will give the 4 tribes a big surprise at the critical moment. The 8 desolation demon emperor said coldly. Wait a little longer. The 7 brilliance demon emperor said calmly. We can only use the chess piece when it's fully functional. Otherwise, the plan that our tribe has been working on for tens of thousands of years will be completely destroyed if we make the slightest mistake. The 8 desolation demon emperor nodded and said, "The only thing we can do now is to hope that Azura and the others can delay us for a while longer. I will try my best to recover in the next few days, so that I can prepare for the upcoming battle." Within the 13th prince's palace, Ningchen and Gu Xingtian were sitting opposite each other in a game of chess. On the chessboard, black and white pieces were crisscrossing each other. The intricate game of chess was filled with killing intent, causing one's heart to tremble. Beside Gu Xingtian, there was a black ancient sword in its scabbard. Its sword intent was restrained and no light could be seen. Within the palace, there were secret reports placed on the table. None of them were opened. Your Highness is really calm. This is already the 17th secret report. Your Highness is still able to sit still and not take a look at it. Instead, you are playing chess with me, Gu Xingtian said with a smile. The result is already known. Naturally, there is no need to rush, Ningchen replied. Everything has its own variables. Your Highness, are you that confident? Gu Xingtian asked in confusion. This is the general trend. Even if there are some variables, it won't affect the overall situation. The final result will still be the same. Ning Chen said calmly. The wise ones help the general trend, while the wise ones follow the general trend. Gu Xingtian said emotionally. Now I am more and more certain that your highness is behind all of this. Ning Chen smiled faintly and did not reply. He placed the black chess piece in his hand. Another chess piece was added to the complicated game. Chess pieces were removed one by one. There were both black and white chess pieces. It had been like this since ancient times. A general success was built on the bones of thousands of people. Behind all the conspiracies and plots, there was a bloodbath. Ning Chen saw it clearly. In the past he could not bear to do it. Today his heart was as hard as stone. Your Highness, you don't seem to be in a hurry at all. Your Highness, you must have someone in mind to get rid of, right? Gu Xingtian said faintly. Ning Chen smiled and looked at the black ancient sword beside Gu Xingtian. How can the territory lord sword be unsheathed so easily? Let's wait a little longer. The time is not right yet. Chapter 1185. In the southeast battlefield of the primordial demon region, the Stone Race army, led by the first of the 6 saint protectors, Yin Xiao, returned with a thunderous momentum and attacked the demon region again. The Stone Race, which had been defeated once, returned with an even stronger attack. On the battlefield, the 4th prince of the sky demon region, Xianqi, stood in the air. Blood kept dripping from the burning heart demon sword in his hand. Yin Xiao and the other 2 saint protectors surrounded Xianqi, surrounding the number 1 sword in the world. Of the 6 saint protectors of the Stone Race, only 3 were left now. The 3 strongest saint protectors were attacking the invincible legend of the number 1 sword in the world. On the battlefield, swords and palms clashed. Powerful forces clashed, causing sand to spread and fly for hundreds of miles. After the burning heart demon sword was reforged, its sharpness was even stronger than before. A round chaotic demon stone kept spinning between the sword hilt and sword blade. Facing a strong enemy, Yin Xiao and the other 2 saint protectors circulated their true yuan and turned their bodies into stone. Swords and sabers could not harm them, and palms could not destroy them. 3 against 1, the golden stone body clashed with the burning heart demon sword. The sound of battle resounded throughout the battlefield. Long time no see. You've become stronger. Xianqi said indifferently as he stood in the formation of the 3 saint protectors with 1 sword. In order to kill you, how could I dare to stop? The first saint protector of the Stone Race appeared on the battlefield again. He no longer had any flaws, and his battle prowess had doubled. Boom! Xianqi punched out, shaking the sky and earth. He instantly dodged Yin Xiao, who was the strongest, and arrived in front of the other 2 saint protectors. He slashed with his sword, breaking through stone and metal. The sharp divine weapon and sword chi were unstoppable. The 2 saint protectors wanted to stall for time. Their bodies flashed as they dodged. Fast as lightning. Strong as unparalleled. Wherever the sword chi passed, the void would shatter. It was very shocking. The sword that could not be avoided brushed past them. The 2 saint protectors were both forced back dozens of feet. Cracks appeared on their petrified bodies. Xianqi's figure moved forward even more. His sword was like lightning, slashing toward the 2. Seeing this, Yin Zhao's expression changed slightly. He stepped out and flew toward the former. Hung Long, a heavy fist swept over, shattering the earth and shocking the heavens. The heart-burning demon sword met it head-on, forcefully colliding with Stone Clan's number 1 saint protector. Their eyes met, and their fists collided with a loud bang. Fist against fist, body and foundation clashed head-on. The shockwaves blasted out, and apart from the 4 peerless kings, everyone within 1,000 steps was blasted away. Kill. The 2 of them were in a stalemate for a moment. Then the 2 Stone Tribe Saint Protectors arrived from behind and punched at the swordsman's back. Burning heart, sword calamity. Facing the danger, Xianqi's expression didn't change. He turned around and slashed out with his sword. Demonic flames filled the sky. Heart-burning flame, calamity of the sword. It was an astonishing move. Streaks of sword chi broke through the void and swept toward the 2. With such a powerful move, the 2 saint protectors were sent flying by the sword chi. Their bodies cracked and they were heavily injured. 100 steps away, the 2 staggered and stabilized their figures, vomiting blood from their mouths. After forcefully pushing back the two, Mysterious Fantasy didn't have enough time to recover his chi, and an opening appeared. You were too careless. Now that an opportunity had appeared, Yin Zhao's eyes shone brightly as he unleashed all of his Zhenyuan and punched the former's shoulder. Ugh! An undetectable groan sounded. Mysterious Fantasy took half a step back as blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. The dripping blood fell to the ground silently. Mysterious Fantasy steadied himself and raised his hand to wipe off the blood. His eyes were even colder. The stone tribe shall be destroyed. Anger rose to his eyebrows. Sword intent gushed out from his body. Mysterious Fantasy took half a step forward as the sword chi around him shot up into the sky and pierced through the clouds. Sky Demon 7 Transformations. The Sky Demon weapon appeared. Behind Mysterious Fantasy, a demon body that was thousands of feet tall rose from the ground. The giant demon body stood between the sky and the earth, and the universe changed color. Supported by the demon form, Mysterious Fantasy held his sword in front of him and pointed his finger at the sword. Instantly, blood dyed the demon's sword red, and the sky changed. Burning Heart Doomsday. The Doomsday sword could kill gods and demons. Mysterious Fantasy released all of his Zhenyuan. The terrifying power broke through all the laws in the world and slashed toward the first saint protector of the stone tribe. The peerless sword could cut through the sky and the sea. Yin Zhao's expression turned serious as he activated all of his techniques. Dark power burst out, and a giant stone statue appeared in the sky. Its giant fist met the demon slayer sword. Boom! In the sky, the two attacks collided. The demon sword cut open the giant statue, and the terrifying impact burst out. The demon form also shattered, and the aftershock swallowed the two. Blood splashed out like rain. In the battle, the first saint protector of the stone tribe flew out hundreds of feet. His body was covered in cracks. The Doomsday Demon sword was invincible. After one attack, Yin Zhao was severely injured, and his body was covered in blood. In the violent aftershock, Mysterious Fantasy walked out with the demon sword in his hand. He looked like an absolute powerhouse. 1 against 3, he suppressed the 3 saint protectors of the stone tribe. Puff! In front of and behind Mysterious Fantasy, the 3 saint protectors of the stone tribe vomited blood. The Zhenyuan in their bodies was messed up, and they were severely injured. I can't accept this. In the sky, Yin Zhao steadied himself. Looking at the shattered stone body, he couldn't hide the hatred in his eyes. Why? He was clearly stronger. Hatred devoured his heart, and his rationality was nibbled away. Blood burst out from Yin Zhao's body, and the blood mist surged, covering the entire battlefield. Blood sacrifice of Saint Spirit, dark soul devouring. The forbidden spell of the stone tribe appeared for the first time. In an instant Yin Zhao disappeared, and when he reappeared he was behind the 2 saint protectors. Before they could react, the 2 saint protectors of the stone tribe felt a sharp pain in their backs, and their bodies exploded. The scattered blood and bones quickly disappeared in the blood mist. After devouring the 2 saint protectors of the late-stage king realm, Yin Zhao's energy doubled. His eyes turned red, and they were extremely dazzling. The sudden change shocked everyone. Mysterious Fantasy turned around and looked at the first saint protector of the stone tribe, whose energy had soared. His expression turned cold. A disgusting tribe shouldn't exist in this world. As soon as he said that, Mysterious Fantasy stepped forward. The space around him cracked, and the black flame of heartburning gushed out. In the center of the battle, demonic flames covered the sky. Fighting demons with demons. Why can't I? The first saint protector of the stone tribe, who had gone mad, was filled with Zhenyuan. His powerful and chaotic energy surged, and the sky collapsed and the earth collapsed. The ground shook. In the distance, mountains collapsed one after another. The giant stones turned into a 10,000-foot-tall giant. It waved its stone fist and smashed toward the 4th heavenly demon prince in the sky. Mysterious Fantasy's eyes narrowed. He waved his heart-burning demon sword and blocked the giant's fist. The extremely powerful heavenly demon king was surrounded by demonic might. He could shake the sky with one hand and one sword. Roar! The 10,000-foot-tall giant raised his head and roared. He smashed his other fist toward the demon king in front of him again. You're just a stone man. You want to shake me? You're too naive. Mysterious Fantasy said coldly. The black flame on his heart-burning demon sword became even stronger. He waved his sword, and the sharp light split the sky. The sword light tore through the sky. With a huge boom, the demonic sword cut open the giant's chest. In that instant, the giant was split in half and fell to the ground. The moment the giant collapsed, Yin Xiao moved in the sky. In an instant, he was behind the king. The surging blood mist was as dazzling as fire. After devouring the two saint protectors of the stone tribe, Yin Xiao was even more dazzling than the sun. He punched out, and the sky was shattered. The heavy fist arrived, and the demonic sword met it. The two peak kings clashed again, and the battle was even more intense. Punch after punch, sword after sword. It was simple and direct. At this level, they had returned to their natural state. Every move they made had the power to destroy the sky and the earth. After a few moves, the sky and the earth were turned upside down. The battle sounds were shocking. The space within 10 miles, 100 miles, 1,000 miles shook violently. Just as the battle between the two reached its climax, demonic chi surged on a mountain in the distance. Two figures walked out of thin air. They were peak swordsmen. Their sword chi was hidden, and they had white hair and white hair. Their silver clothes were black and white. They appeared on the battlefield in the southeast to watch the battle between the kings. The battle in front of them was shocking. The power of the fourth heavenly demon prince was reflected in their eyes. The swordsmen resonated with each other, and the battle intent spread in their hearts. What do you think? Cabinet Master, are you satisfied with such an opponent? Ning Chun looked at the battle in the distance and asked. The best swordsman in the world lives up to his name. Gu Xingtian couldn't hide his battle intent. He said lightly, however, Your Highness and I have already agreed on the conditions. Targets that are more difficult than the Crown Prince are not on my list. This fourth heavenly demon prince can fight against 10,000 soldiers. Your Highness is too greedy. The fourth heavenly demon prince in his peak state is indeed more difficult than assassinating the Crown Prince. However, if it's a heavily injured heavenly demon prince, it should be in line with the agreement between me and the Crown Prince. Ning Chun smiled. Hearing this, Gu Xingtian frowned and said, Taking advantage of the situation is an unfair victory. This is disrespectful to a peerless swordsman. Respect? The smile on Ning Chun's face disappeared. He looked at the Eastern Region Lord and said coldly, Can your respect exchange for the peace of the human race? Or can your respect prevent the human race from being bullied by the other races? Respect? There is no respect between the alien races. I have been planning for so long. If everything had to be done openly, what you are seeing now would be the tragic scene of the heavenly demon clan slaughtering the world, not the scene of the world slaying the demons. Gu Xingtian's face darkened. He clenched his sword tightly and remained silent. The number 1 pavilion is an assassin organization. Assassins should have their own standards. As he spoke, Ning Chen's face became colder. He continued, Eastern Region Lord, I think the Pavilion Lord should know better than me whether the assassin's standards are fair and just or unscrupulous. Thank you for your reminder, Your Highness. After a long silence, Gu Xingtian sighed and said, I know what to do. Hearing this, Ning Chen smiled again and said, I admire the Territory Lord's righteousness. Gu Xingtian looked at the young man beside him and sighed. The heavenly demon royal family's current situation was definitely due to this young man. He was as cunning as a demon and ruthless. The 13th prince was indeed a terrifying figure. Ning Chen could tell what the former was thinking, but he didn't point it out. He looked into the distance and continued to watch the battle. The battle of the king's domain had reached a critical moment. The burning heart demon sword cut through the stone armor on the Stone Clan's first Saint Protection's chest, and pierced through his chest. Without a doubt, the fourth heavenly demon prince defeated the Stone Clan's first Saint Protection. The battle was over. I can't accept this. Unwillingness and anger rushed to his heart. At the last moment, Yin Xiao self-detonated his blood origin and his body exploded. The shockwave blasted Qianqi back 100 steps. The corner of his mouth was dyed red. Now, on the peak in the distance, Gu Xingtian's eyes narrowed. He unsheathed Kuren Tian and used Flying Immortal Sword. Chapter 1186. Primordial Demon Region, Southeast Battlefield. As the two kings were deciding the victor, Kuan Tian unsheathed his sword from a high mountain far away. The earth-shattering sword cut through the void. It was so dazzling that it attracted the attention of tens of thousands of soldiers. Above the battlefield, Xianqi, who had just experienced a fierce battle, felt a strong killing intent coming from behind him. He subconsciously turned around and waved his sword to meet the attack. Boom! Burning Heart and Kuan Tian, the two peerless divine weapons clashed. Sparks flew in the sky and Xianqi felt his right arm go numb. His injured body could not use his true yuan. The sword tip entered his body and blood splattered. The demon body was dyed red, shocking everyone present. Gu Xingtian took a step forward and the ancient sword in his hand slashed another inch forward, slaying the devil cultivator. Xianqi's expression darkened. He raised his left hand and closed two fingers, stopping the sword in his body. Burning Heart, Heaven's Wrath. The king's sword was thwarted. The demonic aura of the Burning Heart demon sword increased. Suddenly thunder and fire appeared in the void. It was as if the heavens were angry and wanted to destroy the world. The sword slashed down and the sky was filled with black light. The sword of a king could not be blasphemed. Gu Xingtian's expression did not change. He pulled out his sword and retreated 100 steps. When he reappeared, he was already behind the demon. The ancient sword pierced through the air once again, its murderous intent hidden within, making it impossible for one to guard against. Xianqi stepped forward and the two swords clashed. The injured celestial demon prince retreated half a step. His mouth was red. In the battle of the top swordsmen, one was heavily injured and had lost the initiative. The other was in his prime and had the advantage. The invincible king of the demons showed signs of weakness. Gu Xingtian had the advantage. His sword was unpredictable. His sword was fast, strange, and ruthless. Every move was merciless and deadly. On the other hand, Xianqi was injured and his moves were restricted. Facing the strongest eastern region lord of the number 1 pavilion, he was about to lose. Whoosh! The ancient sword slashed through, and the sound of clothes tearing could be heard. Blood flowed out of Xianqi's left shoulder. He had avoided the fatal attack, but could not avoid the sword qi. What an amazing swordsman! You have angered me. After being suppressed for more than 10 moves, the anger in Xianqi's eyes became more and more intense. He took the sword head-on and immediately used all his martial arts, his ultimate move appearing again. Burning Heart, Blood Sacrifice. He held the sword horizontally in front of him, and blood dyed the demonic weapon red. At the point where the sword hilt and the sword edge met, the chaos demonic stone spun rapidly, and in an instant, the demonic aura rapidly spread out, and waves of demonic flames crazily spread out, covering the scorching sun in the west. Instantly the world darkened, and only black flames filled the air. An indescribable sword pressure rose up, and the king's sword revealed its sovereign aura for the first time. Seeing this, Gu Xingtian's expression turned serious. He took a step back and retreated 100 steps. Then he raised his sword and the sun, moon, and stars appeared. Forced to the limit, the three forms combined, and a terrifying sword pressure surged out. The swordsman who had formed his own Tao also revealed his strongest sword. The two swordsmen who stood at the peak of the Tao of swords were about to clash. Just as the victor and loser were about to be decided, on a distant mountain peak, the white-haired figure in plain clothes moved. He formed a seal with his hands and used the Qi Huang forbidden technique again. Once the forbidden technique was used, cracks appeared around Ning Chen's body, and a terrifying backlash attacked him. Even though his body had been reconstructed from the divine tree's source, his foundation showed signs of collapsing. At this moment, clouds started to gather in the sky above the battlefield. From the clouds, an undetectable power descended and landed on the demon's body. The sudden appearance of the power came without any warning. Xianqi, who was focused on dealing with his enemy, didn't have time to react. However, he felt an intense tearing sensation in his body, and his demonic aura immediately dissipated by more than half. The heavenly talisman showed its might, and at the same time the sun, moon, and star swords' combined attack crashed into the demon's sword. It was a shocking scene. The demon king who had been ambushed felt blood spurt out of his heart. The sword light pierced through his chest, bringing out a waterfall of dazzling vermilion. On the other side, Gu Xingtian was forced back half a step by the shockwave. His sword hand was also dyed red. With the combination of light and dark, the demon was heavily injured. 10 steps away, Xianqi stabilized himself and looked at the sky with a gloomy expression. He had never seen such a power before, and he hadn't sensed it at all. Although his attention had been diverted, this power was definitely not ordinary to be able to hide from his divine sense at such a close distance. Before he could finish his thoughts, the black sword light in front of him broke through the air once more. The sword was sharp and filled with killing intent. Xianqi came back to his senses and met it with his sword. Sunset scene, shadow and battle, peak sword arts, and the battle became more and more intense. Sky-setting sword, one sword sealing god. Kuan Tian displayed his might. Gu Xingtian moved with his sword at an extremely fast speed. His killing moves were endless, and each of them chased after the soul. Xianqi blocked with his sword, but his heavily injured body found it harder and harder to hold on. Blood dyed his clothes red, and it was extremely eye-catching. In the west, the sun gradually set. The battle between the two still hadn't ended. Outside the two's battle, the Sky Demons and the Stone Tribe were also fighting fiercely. The two armies had suffered heavy casualties, and more than half of them were dead. On the mountain peak in the distance, Ningchen watched the battle quietly. Blood flowed from his arms and dyed the mountain below him red. Even though he had planned every step carefully, without absolute power to ensure that the plan would go smoothly, all his plans would be useless. The fourth demon prince's strength wasn't something a normal demon king could compare to. If the plan was to proceed according to plan, he had to destroy this power of the Sky Demon royal family. Now he couldn't reveal his identity yet. He couldn't show himself yet, so he had to borrow the power of others. Gu Xingtian, the #1 pavilion in the world, the Lord of the East region, could be said to be the strongest swordsman of the human race in the primordial demon realm. He was the best candidate besides Yizhu. The #1 pavilion in the world was a powerful force that dominated the darkness. Their ability to kill was not something that any other force could compare to. As the battle continued, the sun finally set in the sky. When darkness came, the peak sword arts changed again. The figure of the #1 swordsman of the human race flashed in the darkness. In the darkness, only the afterimages could be seen. It was hard to tell which was the real one. Xianqi waved the burning heart demon sword and broke through the afterimages. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. Gu Xingtian's silhouette appeared, blocking the demon's sword with his finger. Around the two of them, sword chi clashed, destroying everything in their path. However, the black ancient Kuan heavenly sword in the hands of the Lord of the Eastern region had disappeared. Soul as a sword, one sword wind soul. A gust of wind blew and a sword appeared in the wind. The black cold sword appeared behind the demon's sword silently. Xianqi instinctively dodged to the side. However, it was too late. The ancient sword pierced through his body half an inch to the left of Xianqi's heart. The ancient sword pierced through his body, bringing with it a bright red color. It was a hair's breadth away. The demon sword's amazing fighting instinct allowed him to avoid the danger and save his life. Blood dripped from the wound and stained the demon sword's body. Xianqi stumbled and almost fell down. Respected swordsman of the demon sword, you are doomed. Gu Xingtian didn't hesitate. His figure flashed and his sword took Xianqi's life. The danger of life and death was right in front of him. Instead of being angry, Mysterious Strange laughed. His laughter shook the 9 heavens and 10,000 gods. Hee ha ha. His deep and crazy laughter sent chills down everyone's spine. Xianqi's eyes turned blood red. Waves of terrifying demonic energy surged out. Vaguely, the aura of the Emperor filled the air. It was clear and powerful. Not good. On the peak far away, Ningchen's eyes dimmed. The Emperor's aura. The fourth prince had already reached the Emperor realm. Boom. In the distant battlefield, Kuan Tian and Burning Heart were exchanging blows. Horrifying shockwaves blasted out, shattering the illusory stars in the sky above them. The terrifying phenomenon shook the entire battlefield. Arg. 2 groans sounded in the battle. Sword chi pierced through their bodies. Xianqi and Gu Xingtian flew out at the same time. They were both severely injured. 100 steps away, Gu Xingtian stabilized himself, and looked at the fourth prince of the heavenly demon sword in shock. How was it possible that the fourth prince was injured to this extent, and yet he still had such terrifying battle power? Don't fight anymore. Retreat. A calm voice sounded from the peak far away. Gu Xingtian's face darkened when he heard this. He took a step forward and left. In the air, demonic energy surged around Qianqi. The aura became more and more terrifying. Gradually, it devoured the heavens and earth. The soldiers of the heavenly demon sword and stone tribe couldn't retreat in time, and were devoured by the demonic qi. Their bodies quickly turned to dust. In the distance, two people stood in the air and looked at the battlefield. Their expressions were solemn. The fourth prince of the heavenly demon sword is really terrifying, Gu Xingtian said. How can an expert from the antiquity age be mediocre? Ning Chun sighed. However, it's a pity that we couldn't kill Qianqi in today's battle. Gu Xingtian was silent. After a while he said, I'm sorry. I didn't keep my promise. It's not the territory lord's fault. Ning Chun looked at the demonic qi and said, let's leave first. After this battle, Qianqi is severely injured. He won't be able to recover in a short time. I've achieved my goal. Gu Xingtian nodded and left with the young man beside him. In the dark night, the two disappeared without leaving any trace. They came without a shadow and left without a trace. In the sky above the battlefield, the demonic qi gradually retracted after the demonic qi exploded. The body of a king fell from the sky. His body was 90% damaged. There was no one left in the air. The hundreds of thousands of soldiers had all turned to dust. It was a shocking scene. With a clang, the demonic sword stabbed into the ground. Qianqi staggered and spat out blood. The blood splattered on the ground and dyed the ground red. Under the imperial Dao, he was invincible. Today, he once again displayed his shocking battle strength. He was fearless. The demonic sword in his hand cut through all schemes. 5 days later, in the southeast of the primordial demon domain, the Stone Tribe's army appeared again. This time, the leader of the army was the Stone Tribe's crown prince. In the southeast, the severely injured fourth prince temporarily returned to the heavenly demon ancestral land. The heavenly demon army couldn't resist the Stone Tribe's attack, and was forced to retreat. At this point, the 5 battlefields in the primordial demon domain were defeated. The armies of the 5 Imperials charged in, and the flames of war quickly spread to the center of the primordial demon domain. Chapter 1187. In the Celestial Devil Imperial City, the news of the total defeat of the 5 battlefields had spread. The entire Imperial City was in a state of panic. It was a crisis they had never faced before. The Celestial Devil Imperial family that had ruled the 100 races since ancient times could not even protect themselves. The Imperial Prince's commanders had suffered heavy casualties and were defeated again and again. Apart from the 5 sovereign families, there were other major families and even royal families from all over the primordial demon realm, who joined the war against the Celestial Devil Imperial family. They worked together with the 5 sovereign families to resist the rule of the Celestial Devil Imperial family. In the Celestial Devil ancestral land, the heavily injured 4th Imperial Prince immediately went into seclusion to heal himself. With the loss of the commander in the southeast battlefield, the Stone Tribe's army marched straight in. The situation was even more precarious. In the east, in the Celestial Devil Army's camp, the 3rd Imperial Prince Qianlai received the report from the southeast battlefield. He was shocked. Qianqi was heavily injured? How was that possible? He knew 4th strength better than anyone else. Unless an Emperor Realm expert was involved, almost no one could defeat him. The southeast battlefield had always been the one he was most confident in. He did not expect that even 4th side would be lost. Who is the attacker? Have you found out? Qianlai looked at the scout in front of him and asked in a low voice. Imperial Prince, according to Imperial Prince Qianqi's information, the attacker is a mysterious swordsman. He wore a silver robe and held an ancient sword. He wore a black and white hat. His strength is shocking. I have never seen him before. The scout replied respectfully. Qianlai frowned slightly. A swordsman. 4th was injured by a swordsman. Since when did the primordial demon realm have such a powerful swordsman? Xianlai looked back in the direction of the celestial devil imperial city, and narrowed his eyes. In terms of swordsman, that disciple of 9 serenities was indeed a rare swordsman. However, he had only cultivated for a short time, and should not be a threat to 4th. In the 3rd imperial city, dark clouds covered the sky. Muffled thunder echoed in the clouds, making the atmosphere even gloomier. In the 13th Crown Prince's residence, Ningchen stood in front of the palace, looking at the clouds outside with a calm expression. The celestial demon royal tribe had lost one battle after another. Their conventional forces were at a disadvantage. Most importantly, the first Kunyi demon emperor was trapped at the eastern end of the battlefield. The 8 Desolation demon emperor was severely injured, and the 7 Luminaries demon emperor and the 9 Serenities demon emperor were guarding the primordial demon realm. The celestial demon royal tribe was at a disadvantage too. He wanted to see what other trump cards the celestial devil imperial family had to deal with the current situation. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will not be defeated in 100 battles. When the celestial devil imperial family used all of their trump cards, that would be the day this colossus was destroyed. In the back courtyard of the Crown Prince residence, Gu Xingtian, who was dressed in a silver-white court robe, was meditating and recuperating from his injuries. Time passed day after day. The armies of the 5 sovereign clans marched straight into the various battlefields, attacking the Heavenly Devil clan like a flood of iron. Over the next few days, unfamiliar experts appeared in the armies of the 5 great royal families one after another. When the 5 great armies were defeated and the Celestial Devil clan was on the verge of defeat, many of the great races of the 100 races secretly sent out experts to help and suppress the Celestial Devil clan together. Demonic aura surged in the Heavenly Devil ancestral land. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor stood in the air, his demonic aura as heavy as 10,000 mountains. We can't wait any longer. It's time to send out the Imperial Army. Not far away, the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor opened his eyes and said. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor fell silent. After a long while he nodded and said, "That's our only choice." The Heavenly Devil Imperial Army was the most important defensive force in the 3 imperial cities. If the Imperial Army was deployed, the defense of the imperial cities would be reduced by half. It was not a wise choice to send out the Imperial Army unless they had no other choice. Azura is trapped and can't get away for the time being. We can send Xianmo to the western battlefield and temporarily take over as the commander to stop the western sacred region's attack. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor suggested. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor nodded and said, "Even if Xianmo can't stop the western sacred region's attack, she can at least delay it for a while. However, if Xianmo goes to the western battlefield, who should we send to the southeastern battlefield?" Xianqing. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor said coldly, "It's a waste not to utilize the strength of the 4 profound entrances. Instead of leaving them to cause trouble in the imperial city, it's better to send them to the front line to contribute to the royal family." The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor frowned slightly, but he did not object. It was reasonable to send Xianqing to the front line under the current circumstances. Even his supporters could not say anything about it. However, if Xianqing succeeded in stopping the Stone Tribe's attack and made a great contribution, he would undoubtedly have a great advantage in the battle for the throne in the future. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor could see the 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor's worry. He said, "We can't care about the battle for the throne for now. Our top priority is to resolve the crisis at hand." The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor nodded. It was the best choice for now. Xianzhen was severely injured and could only stay in the imperial city to recuperate. The disciple of 9 Serenities was too weak both in terms of cultivation and the forces around him. They could not support a war. Xianqing was the best choice. Relay the order. "Yes, sir." Summon the great commander of the imperial army, Xianmo, and the 3rd prince Xianqing. Affirmative. The 13th prince's palace in the 3 imperial city. Secret reports came one after another from various battlefields and key factions in the imperial city. There were so many of them on the table that it was dizzying. Ningchen read the secret reports patiently. His mind was spinning rapidly as he considered his next move. Report. At this moment, a black-robed figure appeared out of nowhere outside the palace. He bowed respectfully and said, "Your Highness, Great Commander Xian Mo and the third prince have received the order. They have just left for the 3 Imperial Palace." Ningchen put down the secret report in his hand and said, "Got it. You may leave now." "Yes, sir." The black-robed figure accepted the order and vanished into thin air. Ningchen rose to his feet and went to the front of the palace. He looked in the direction of the 3 Imperial City with murderous intent. It was time. The reason why the 2 demon emperors summoned Great Commander Xian Mo and Great Commander Xianqing was obvious. The Sky Devil Imperial family did not have enough battle power. They needed to use the Imperial Army and the third prince's power. Putting aside the third crown prince for now, using the Imperial Guards was definitely a risky move. The Imperial Guards of the Imperial Guards were the most powerful army in the entire primordial demon realm. However, once the Imperial Guards left, the defense of the 3 Imperial cities would be greatly reduced. The pros and cons were obvious. The fact that the 2 demon emperors used the Imperial Army meant that the Sky Devil Imperial family did not have enough power on the surface. They had to use this risky move. This was good news for him. After plotting for so long, it was finally time for him to reap the fruits of his labor. As for Xianqing, he was the opponent that he had left for Xian Quebec. He did not need to worry too much. "Inji," Ningchen said. "Your Highness." In front of the palace, a beautiful figure appeared without a sound. Her pale face was faintly discernible with cracks, and there was a hint of strangeness in her delicate beauty. "Get ready. The opportunity is here," Ningchen said calmly. Hearing this, Inji bowed respectfully and said, "Yes." With that, Inji turned into mist and left the Crown Prince Palace. 2 days later, in front of the 3 Imperial City, 200,000 soldiers of the Sky Devil Imperial Army left for the battlefields. After the Imperial Army left, the defense of the 3 Imperial City became empty. The 9th Prince, Xian Ke, was ordered to temporarily take over the defense of the Imperial City. He became very busy. On the first night, the Imperial City was still as peaceful as before. Nothing happened. In the 9th Prince Palace, Xian Ke secretly let out a sigh of relief. The burden on his shoulders was not light. If anything happened in the Imperial City, the responsibility would fall on him. Be careful. If there are any suspicious people, capture them immediately. Xian Ke ordered the generals with a serious expression. Yes. The generals turned and left after receiving the order. In the 13th Prince Palace, Ningchen stood quietly without doing anything. Behind him, Inji stood there silently waiting for Ningchen's order. The sun rose and set. Time passed day after day, but the 3 Imperial cities remained abnormally calm. Nothing major happened. The calm before the storm made it hard for people to breathe. In the 9th Prince Palace, Xian Ke's expression became more and more serious. The Imperial City was too quiet, so quiet that it was a little scary. On the 5th day, the night came. Dark clouds covered the moon, and the sky was gloomy. The people in the Imperial City went to bed early. Suddenly, on the east side of the Imperial City, a fire broke out. Then the sound of fighting filled the night, attracting everyone's attention. In the 9th Prince Palace, Xian Ke heard the secret report and his expression sank. Finally they came. In the 13th Prince Palace, Inji heard the secret report, and a strange expression flashed across her face. She said in confusion, "Your Highness, they are not our people." Ningchen nodded without much surprise on his face. After the Sky Devil Imperial Army left, the defense of the 3 Imperial City was greatly reduced. Many hidden factors would definitely erupt. This was just the beginning. On the east side of the Imperial City, the fire spread and burned down several palaces. In other directions, the conspirators who had been hiding for a long time also took action. They had different goals and took advantage of the situation. It didn't take long for all sides to take action, and the entire Imperial City began to fall into chaos. "Inji, you go and help them." In the 13th Prince Palace, Ningchen looked at the girl behind him and said, "No need to do anything big. Just fan the wind and light the fire." Yes. Inji accepted the order and left. In the dark night, the entire Imperial City was in chaos. In the east, When the first light of dawn shone, the chaos stopped. Everywhere in the imperial city was a mess, shocking everyone. In the 3 imperial city, Xianke, who had been busy the whole night, almost didn't have a moment of rest. In the 13th Prince Palace, Ningchen still didn't leave the palace. He quietly watched the chaos in the imperial city. At dawn, Yingji returned and reported the situation in the imperial city. She didn't leave out any details. Ningchen listened quietly and didn't say anything. He also didn't make any arrangements for the next step. All his orders were just one word: wait. Although Yingji didn't understand, she didn't ask. Since the ghost race had chosen to be loyal to the 13th prince, she could only trust him. Not long after dawn, Xianke led the army and surrounded the Crown Prince Palace. Xianke walked in and looked at the young man in plain clothes. He said calmly, 13th brother, this is a routine search. Please cooperate. 9th brother, please. Ningchen smiled. Xianke nodded and looked back at the soldiers behind him. He ordered search. Chapter 1188. At the 13th prince's residence, Xianke led his troops to search the residence. The atmosphere was so tense that it was hard to breathe. Yingji's expression darkened. She was about to step forward when Ningchen stopped her. 9th brother, please do as you wish. Ningchen said with a smile. Xianke nodded and waved his right hand. The soldiers behind him immediately entered the residence and began to search seriously. Did 13th brother leave the residence last night? Xianke looked at the person in front of him and asked. Ningchen shook his head and said, no. There was such a big commotion last night. 13th brother, aren't you curious at all? Xianke sneered and said aggressively. I went to bed early last night and didn't hear anything. I only found out this morning that something happened in the imperial city. Ningchen smiled. Xianke's eyes turned cold when he heard this. 13th brother, you slept really well. Ningchen smiled and said, I've been worried about the war at the front lines these days. I finally had a good night's sleep last night. I didn't expect so many things to happen in the imperial city. The armory was burned, and the residences of several royal families were also affected. In addition, more than 10 secret locations of the Sky Devil royal family were attacked. They lost a lot of cultivation methods and immortal jades. It was obvious that these actions had been planned for a long time. The Sky Devil royal family had ruled the primordial demon realm for a long time. Similarly, they had made countless enemies. As long as there was an opportunity, many dark forces that had been hiding for a long time would definitely not let go of this opportunity. What he did was to make things worse and force these dark forces out, diverting all the attention of the Sky Devil royal family. Just as the two of them were arguing, groups of soldiers came from all over the residence. They searched for a long time but found nothing. Your Highness, we didn't find anything suspicious. The leading general bowed respectfully. Xianke frowned and said, Did you search clearly? Your Highness, we've searched all the places that should be searched. There really isn't anything suspicious. The general said seriously. Ningchen smiled faintly and said, 9th brother, if you're worried, you can send people to continue searching. Anyway, I have nothing to do today. I can accompany you for a chat. Xianke's face darkened and said, No need. I still have things to do. Goodbye. After he finished speaking, Xianke didn't stay any longer. He ordered the troops to withdraw. And then he turned around and walked out of the Crown Prince's mansion. Behind Ningchen, Yingji looked at the back of the 9th prince and his soldiers as they left. Her expression turned serious as she asked, Your Highness, did the 9th prince discover something? Ningchen chuckled and said, Did you leave any evidence of your actions last night? Yingji shook her head and said, No. Since there is no evidence left behind, what is there to worry about? The ones who should be worried aren't us, but the real conspirators from last night. Ningchen looked out of the mansion and said, It's not that easy to take something from the celestial demonic imperial family. If you have the life to snatch it but don't have the life to use it, then it's really a pity. As he spoke, Ningchen's expression grew colder and colder. Although there was regret in his words, his tone was so gloomy that it caused people to tremble. Inji's body trembled slightly as she looked at the 13th prince. She didn't know why, but there was an indescribable chill in her heart. The Ghost clan pledged their loyalty to the 13th prince in order to fight for a bright future for themselves. But to be honest, the longer she spent with him, the more she felt that this prince was terrifying and cruel. He was even more ruthless than the celestial demonic clan who were known for their ruthlessness. She didn't know if the Ghost clan's choice was right or wrong. She even had an illusion that the Ghost clan's future would be completely ruined by this man in front of her. "What are you thinking about?" A calm voice asked in Inji's ears. Inji came back to her senses and looked at the young man who was imposing without being angry. She immediately restrained her thoughts and didn't dare to let her imagination run wild. Since the Ghost clan had made their choice, there was no turning back. They could only believe in their own choice. "Tell your men to hide their tracks and don't expose themselves. Remember, don't touch anything from the celestial demonic imperial family," Ningchen reminded. "Yes," Inji replied softly. "Go and arrange it. Come back before sunset," Ningchen said. "Your subordinate will take her leave." Inji bowed and left the place. Seeing Inji leave, Ningchen turned around and walked towards the backyard. In a room in the backyard that was sealed by the god-forbidden space, Guxing Tian was meditating and healing himself. An ancient sword was sheathed beside him. Within the god-forbidden space, Ningchen walked over and looked at the Lord of the East region who was healing himself. He stopped and waited quietly. After a while, Guxing Tian slowly opened his eyes and said, "Looks like it's time for me to make a move." Ningchen nodded and said, "The Forbidden Army is out and Commander Xianemo has left. The guards of the 3 imperial cities have decreased greatly. Making a move now is the best time for us to make a move." Gu Xingtian nodded and said calmly, "I understand. I will make a move tonight." "Thank you." Ningchen bowed politely and turned around to leave. In the palace of the Crown Prince, Xianzhen, who had just recovered, sat on the throne. His face was still pale. Below him, a spy knelt down and reported everything that had happened in the imperial city in detail. At the side, in front of the guest seat, Xianluo listened to the spy's report. His gloomy and cold expression covered all the fluctuations in his heart. On the throne, Xianzhen frowned. The Forbidden Army's departure had indeed affected the imperial city. This chaos was probably just the beginning. Furthermore, Xianke had used this chance to surround the 13th prince's palace. It was obvious that he was using this chance to take revenge. The relationship between the former allies had deteriorated so quickly. Across from Xianluo, a minister of the palace said after listening to the spy's report, "Your Highness, the enemy of an enemy is a friend. The 9th prince's forces can't be underestimated. Your Highness can try to rope him in." "There's no need." Xianzhen shook his head. Xianke has already shown signs of joining the 3rd prince. Now that Xianke's stance is unclear, if we try to rope him in, it might cause trouble for us. Hearing this, the consecrator nodded his head thoughtfully. It was indeed so. A prince with an unknown position was really untrustworthy. Just as the two of them were talking, a guard quickly walked in from outside the imperial palace and said respectfully, "Your Highness, the 13th crown prince requests an audience." Hearing this, Xianzhen's eyes flashed coldly. Why was the 13th prince here? "Invite him in." "Yes." The guard turned around and left. Not long after, a plainclothed figure walked in from outside the royal palace. His expression was calm and peaceful, and no one could see any hostility from him. Ningchen entered the palace and looked at the crown prince. He bowed politely and said, "Greetings, royal brother." "13th brother, there's no need to be so polite," Xianzhen asked in an indifferent tone. "Why did you come to my mansion today?" "I heard that first brother's injuries have gotten better, so I came to visit," Ningchen smiled. "Thank you for your concern, 13th brother." "I'm fine now," Xianzhen said. "Then you can rest assured." Ningchen smiled and looked at Xianluo. "Long time no see, Xianluo. How have you been?" "I'm flattered that the 13th prince still remembers me," Xianluo sneered. "You're welcome." Ningchen smiled and looked at the crown prince. "The imperial city is not peaceful these days, first brother. It's best if you don't leave the palace." "That's all I have to say. I still have things to do in the palace, so I won't disturb you." Finishing his words, Ningchen bowed to the man in the palace again and left. Opposite Xianluo, the minister of the palace frowned and asked, "What does the 13th prince mean by that? Is it a threat?" Xianzhen nodded and said, "If I'm not wrong, the 13th prince must have been involved in the chaos yesterday. If that's the case, the 9th prince's attack on the 13th prince's palace was not without reason. However, it seems like he didn't find anything," the minister of the palace said coldly. "All this time we have underestimated the 13th prince," Xianzhen said with a serious expression. Xianzhen said seriously, "Ever since the 13th prince entered the imperial family, he has been getting stronger and stronger. Now he even has the ability to fight against Xianqing and I. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, who would believe that a demon from the human race could reach this step today?" Xianluo sneered. The Jiming Marquis of the Great Xia was very cunning. Putting personal grudges aside, he admired the 13th prince. And because he knew how terrifying the 13th prince was, he didn't want to act rashly before he had the confidence to get rid of the 13th prince. He knew that the Jiming Marquis wouldn't give him a second chance. Once he failed, what awaited him would be a violent counterattack. The night of the Third Imperial City came as expected. The sky was still covered with dark clouds, but the Imperial City was much quieter than usual. In the 13th Prince's palace, Gu Xingtian walked out of the back courtyard and walked to the front palace. The ancient black sword had a sharp edge. The #1 swordsman of the human race had shown his sharpness tonight. In the front palace, Ningchen looked at the lord of the eastern region and said politely, "Thank you." "It's my job," Gu Xingtian replied calmly and continued to walk out of the palace. "There's a demon wearing dark red armor beside the crown prince. If he interferes, just tell him," Ningchen said from behind. "I will remember." Gu Xingtian nodded and continued walking. After a few steps, he disappeared into the darkness. After the lord of the eastern region left, Ningchen turned around and looked at the woman behind him. "Tell your men to act in 2 hours." "Yes." Inji accepted the order and disappeared into the night. In the palace, Ningchen stood quietly in the night and looked at the dark clouds in the sky. His expression gradually turned cold. After waiting for so long, it was time to reap the fruits of his labor tonight. In the imperial city, a silver figure walked out with a black ancient sword in his hand. Born in this dark world, if one's heart was black, then so was their sword. In the crown prince's palace, there were layers of guards. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew and a sword rose. One by one, the guards fell down silently. In the palace, Xianzhen, who was thinking about something, felt a chill down his spine and immediately stood up. In the palace, a silver figure had appeared. His sword moved and killing intent filled the palace. Chapter 1189. In the dark night, dark clouds blocked the moon. In the crown prince's palace, Kuan Tian was unsheathed and the god of death descended. The sudden killing intent came without any warning. The moment the sword appeared, the wind and clouds changed. In the entire imperial palace, there was only one sword that was stunning. Sitting on the throne, Xianzhen recovered from his shock and dodged the sword that was coming at him. Whoosh! An ear-piercing tearing sound could be heard. Blood splattered from Xianzhen's chest as he was unable to dodge Kuan Tian's attack. Having lost the initiative, Xianzhen was in danger. He kept dodging the storm-like attacks. In Gu Xingtian's hand, Kuan Tian's sword moved like lightning. His sharp and tricky attacks brought out a waterfall of blood, completely suppressing the heavenly demon crown prince. Bang! Xianzhen dodged the sword, but he couldn't dodge the palm that came after. Heavily injured, he took a few steps back and his mouth turned red. Before he could regain his footing, the sword light in front of him broke through the air again, not allowing him to breathe. In the face of life and death, Xianzhen's expression darkened. He made a prompt decision and grabbed the sword, fighting for a chance to breathe. Whoosh! The divine weapon tore through flesh and blood. Xianzhen endured the pain in his left hand and punched towards the sword in front of him. Gu Xingtian sneered and turned his sword around. He also used the same method. Kuan Tian broke through the restraints and stabbed into the chest of the former. Arg! Xianzhen groaned as he was heavily injured again. At the same time, the demonic cultivator's fist energy hit him. Gu Xingtian took the attack head-on and retreated 3 steps back. They exchanged injuries. One was fighting for time while the other was fighting for a chance to survive. In such an extreme situation, both of them used the most extreme method to injure each other as much as possible. The overwhelming situation didn't change. However, Xianzhen had to take a moment to catch his breath. He clenched his right hand and a purple gold spear flew over from the throne not far away and entered the demonic cultivator's hand. At this moment, the tip of the sword appeared in front of him again. As the sword flashed, a sky full of stars appeared. The sword was extremely powerful and the star sword appeared again. In an instant, countless sword lights broke through the air and flew towards the demonic cultivator. Seeing this, Xianzhen swung his purplish gold spear across the sky and collided with the tens of thousands of sword radiances. The violent aftershock shook the entire palace. The formation appeared, dispersing the aftermath of the battle. It was supposed to protect the imperial residence, but at this moment, it became the demonic cultivator's talisman. The imperial residence, which was supported by the formation, was difficult for kings to break through. All the guards were blocked in front of the imperial residence, unable to break through the blockade of sword qi. Shattered blood and bones flew all over the sky. The only entrance was blocked by sword qi, blocking all reinforcements. Inside the palace, the battle became more and more intense. The violet gold long spear danced in the air like a dragon. The emperor weapon was extremely domineering. The body of the spear swept out with a force that could break through 1,000 armies. Amidst the dancing spear light, Gu Xingtian's body was constantly moving. His sword was like a raging wave, continuously attacking and suppressing the king of the devils. Before his life was in danger, Xianzhen erupted with 120% of his power. He overcame the difficulties of his body, which was still recovering from his heavy injuries. His attacks displayed the might of a king. After exchanging more than 10 moves, the injuries on the demonic cultivator's body became more and more serious while Kuan Tian's attacks became more and more ferocious. Outside the imperial palace, more and more worshippers and guards gathered. Everyone joined forces and continuously attacked the sword formation in front of them. Arg! Suddenly, a muffled groan sounded from within the imperial palace. A sword pierced through Xianzhen's chest and dyed it red. Just as the battle was about to end, the sword formation in front of the imperial palace shattered. The worshippers of the imperial palace joined forces and attacked together to help the crown prince. When the palm energy came, Gu Xingtian sensed it. He pulled out his sword and blocked the incoming attack. Rumbling sounds echoed throughout the imperial palace. Gu Xingtian took half a step back and shouted, forcing everyone to retreat. Gu Xingtian's expression darkened. He moved his body and wanted to take the life of the demonic cultivator by force. His sword soared into the moon and the sword wind froze the world. In an instant, the killing move appeared. Seeing this, a worshipper of the imperial palace flashed and used his body to block the attack. In the blink of an eye, a sword pierced through the worshipper's chest. The worshipper in front of Xianzhen, who used his body to protect him, had his heart destroyed. His body fell powerlessly. One of the honorary elders had died in battle. The remaining 3 honorary elders of the King realm had already launched their attacks. Their powerful palms were aimed at the swordsman's back. Gu Xingtian grabbed the worshipper of the imperial palace and threw him to the 3 of them. Then he continued to attack the crown prince. Xianzhen retreated 1 step, 2 steps, 10 steps. He tried his best to avoid Xianzhen's killing intent. Behind him, the 3 King Realm worshippers sent the worshipper of the imperial palace flying with their palms. They also rushed out to help the crown prince. It was a battle of life and death. At this moment, a figure in dark red appeared outside the palace. He looked at the battle coldly and was not in a hurry to help. Lord Xianluo, please help us, the commander of the guards said anxiously. Hearing this, Xianluo's lips curled up and he walked into the palace. The shockwaves from the battle made it difficult for ordinary people to get close. Xianluo looked at the intense battle and gathered Yuan in his right palm, preparing for a critical attack. The powerful auras of the experts on the battlefield were hard to ignore. Gu Xingtian sensed it and looked over. His expression turned serious. It was him. The 13th prince had mentioned him before lynching. The situation was tense and there was no time for hesitation. Gu Xingtian turned around and pushed the three worshippers away with his sword. Kuan Tian activated his extreme yuan and the sun, moon and stars appeared at the same time, enveloping the battlefield. The 13th prince asked me to tell you that Ji Ming will pay you back with the descendant of the imperial bloodline. The purpose of the message was obvious. In the small world, the three evil spirits appeared. Gu Xingtian was fighting against 4 evil spirits alone. Hearing the message, Xianluo frowned. He looked at the small world that enveloped the battlefield and his figure flashed, entering the battlefield. When the palm arrived, Xianzhen's sword met it head-on. With a loud boom, the small world shook violently. Your Highness, please leave first. Xianluo entered the battlefield and looked at the crown prince. Xianzhen nodded and left the battlefield. Gu Xingtian narrowed his eyes. His figure flashed and his sword came at Xianzhen again. They are your opponents. Xianluo's figure flickered as he blocked the former's attack. Then he took a step forward and left the battlefield with the crown prince. After a while, the 3 guardians surrounded Xianzhen again and blocked Xianzhen's attack. Outside the battlefield, Xianluo looked at the crown prince and said, Your Highness, please heal yourself first. I will protect you. Okay. Xianzhen nodded. His injured body could not be delayed any longer. He closed his eyes and circulated his energy to suppress his injuries. In the next moment, Xianzhen's demonic qi surged and flowed to the wound on his chest to heal his body. The battle ahead was getting more and more intense. The 3 guardians were so powerful that even the Eastern region lord could not break through the encirclement. After the crisis was over, Xianzhen opened his eyes and looked at the battlefield. He was finally relieved and focused on healing his injuries. Ugh! Suddenly, a miserable groan resounded through the battlefield. Gu Xingtian and the 3 king domain consecrators were all shocked as they looked outside the battlefield. Not far away, a shocking scene took place. Xianzhen's mouth was open and a blood-stained hand pierced through his body. His heart was still beating. You. Caught off guard by the killing intent, Xianzhen turned around with difficulty and looked at the man behind him in disbelief. Your Highness. In the battle not far away, the 3 king realm consecrators came back to their senses and immediately rushed forward. Gu Xingtian's face darkened. He stepped forward and blocked the way, not giving the 3 a chance to help. Why? It was too late to be angry, or regretful. Xianzhen coughed out a mouthful of blood and felt the vitality in his body fading away. Because only by obtaining your bloodline power can I become an emperor. Xianluo replied indifferently. Demonic qi surged around him and forcefully devoured Xianzhen's body. Xianzhen wanted to struggle, but it was already too late for him to do so. In the battle, Gu Xingtian frowned when he saw this. He took a step forward and withdrew from the battle. The small world disappeared and the world returned to normal. Gu Xingtian moved and slashed the barrier outside the palace. After a few breaths, he disappeared into the night. Inside the palace, the 3 guardians did not chase after him. Instead, they rushed toward Xianluo. Demonic qi surged and killing intent filled the sky. Xianluo smiled coldly. He flipped his left hand and a golden ancient mirror appeared. In an instant, the ancient mirror shattered and the space around it also cracked. The 3 kings flashed over after him. However, Xianluo's figure had vanished into thin air within the distorted space, and not a trace of him could be seen. In the palace, the crown prince was lying in a pool of blood. His vitality had dissipated. He died with his eyes wide open. In the 13th prince's palace, Ningchen looked in the direction of the crown prince's palace and sighed. What a pity. At this moment, the space twisted and a figure in dark red appeared. Without saying a word, he struck out with his palm. Ningchen was already prepared. His expression did not change. He summoned his black blade and slashed out. The ground beneath Ningchen's feet cracked. It could not withstand the power of the 2's attacks. At such a close distance, the 2 of them looked at each other with unresolved hatred. Their killing intent was not concealed in the slightest. Are you satisfied with the gift I gave you? Ningchen looked at the demonic qi around Xianzhen and asked. Very. Xianluo sneered. This time we're even. The next time we meet, it will be your death. Let's talk about it if you can live until that day, Ningchen said coldly. You stole the crown prince's bloodline in front of everyone. I think many people will want to turn you into ashes, including the 2 demon emperors. Xian Luo snorted. He did not dare to stay any longer. He shook off the battle and left. Jiming Marquis, keep your life and wait for me to take it. Under the night sky, a cold voice echoed for a long time. A trap. Mortal enemies worked together to bury the heavenly demon crown prince. Ningchen stood under the night sky and looked at the chaotic imperial city. The coldness in his eyes was even stronger. This was just the beginning. There would be even more good shows coming up. In the imperial city, the appointed time arrived. Inji waved her hand and gave the order to move. Soon the entire imperial city was in chaos. Flames lit up the night sky and the sound of killing shook the sky. Chapter 1190. It was a dark and windy night in Sanhuang City. It was the time for murder and arson. Ghostly qi was everywhere in the imperial city. The experts from the Yin Sea and Ghost Prison were wreaking havoc in the heavenly demonic imperial city. The imperial city was in chaos. In the 9th prince residence, Xian Ke frowned. Who was causing trouble? What was their goal? Your Highness. At this moment, a spy walked in quickly and knelt down. He said anxiously the crown prince was killed. What? Xian Ke was shocked. He asked in disbelief, is the information accurate? It's true. The spy said with certainty, the crown prince residence is in chaos. Someone must have gone to report it to the 2 demonic emperors. Xian Ke's face darkened. His worst fears came true. Now that the crown prince was in trouble, he could not escape the blame. At the same time, demonic qi was surging in the heavenly demonic ancestral land. The messenger knelt in the ancestral land with his head lowered and his body shivering. In front of him, a terrifying demonic aura was shaking. The demonic emperor was enraged. We know. You may leave. The suppressed anger was like a tsunami that was about to explode. The atmosphere in the heavenly demonic ancestral land was so oppressive that no one dared to breathe. Yes. The messenger bowed respectfully and left. Bahuang, my condolences. The 7 luminaries demonic emperor looked at the 8 luminaries demonic emperor and said in a heavy tone. The 8 luminaries demonic emperor looked gloomy. He looked at the Sanhuang city in the distance and disappeared without saying anything. He left the ancestral land. The Sanhuang city was engulfed in the flames of war. In just a little more than 2 hours, the imperial city was in complete chaos. The flames lit up the darkness. In front of the 13th prince residence, a white-clothed figure stood quietly. His white hair danced in the cold wind. It was dazzling. Knowing Destiny, who had planned all this behind the scenes, still looked calm and unperturbed. The disaster had just started, and it was far from the time to celebrate. The death of the crown prince was only the fuse that ignited the chaos in the demonic realm. The battle between him and Xianqing would reach its climax. The battle for the throne, the situation of killing demons, and the internal and external troubles. He was curious how long this giant could last. While he was thinking, the sky above the Sanhuang city suddenly, a terrifying demonic aura pressed down. It was violent and heavy, as if the heavens were angry. The entire Sanhuang city shook violently. He's here. Ning Chun came back to his senses and looked at the sky. A cold look flashed across his eyes. The ruler of the heavenly demons could not sit still in the end. An emperor descended from the sky, and his monstrous demonic might shook the world. All around the imperial city, the well-prepared ghost clan cultivators immediately concealed themselves and disappeared. Outside the ghost clan, many cultivators from other clans who were trying to take advantage of the situation did not have time to leave. However, under the pressure of the demonic might from above the 9 heavens, blood mist exploded everywhere in the imperial city. Blood and bones flew everywhere and scattered all over the ground. An unparalleled demonic cultivator covered in demonic qi descended from the sky. His demonic aura spread out, and all the kings didn't dare to raise their heads. In a corner of the 3 imperial city, Inji looked at the demonic cultivators in the sky in the dark. Her eyes were filled with shock. Was this the power of a true Emperor Dao expert? He was so terrifying that no one dared to even think about resisting. What was even more frightening was that His Highness had even predicted this. Thinking about what had happened behind the scenes, it was really creepy. In the 13th Prince Palace, the 8 Desolation demonic empress and Ning Chun, who had been standing quietly in front of the palace, moved. A strange light rose around him as the yellow springs and the passage of time were activated at the same time. The aura was completely sealed, making it difficult for an emperor to detect it. In an instant, Inji's figure disappeared and flew towards the 3 Imperial Palace. In the Crown Prince Palace, the 8 Desolation demonic emperor descended, and everyone in the Imperial City looked towards the Crown Prince Palace. The bloody scene was shocking. The 8 Desolation demonic emperor looked at his son lying in a pool of blood, and his demonic chi fluctuated, causing the world to distort. Who are the murderers? The 8 Desolation demonic emperor said coldly. Demonic emperor, the murderers are Xian Luo and a silver-robed swordsman. A consecrator replied honestly. The 8 Desolation demonic emperor walked forward and looked at Xianzhen's heart that had been taken away. His killing intent became more and more terrifying. Demonic emperor, Xian Luo is probably hiding beside His Highness for the power of His Highness bloodline. Today's rebellion is clearly premeditated. The second consecrator said. The 8 Desolation demonic emperor did not speak, but his anger was getting more and more difficult to suppress. After a while he closed his eyes and released his divine sense. In the next moment his divine sense spread out rapidly. 100 miles, 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles. A shocking demonic aura enveloped the entire primordial demonic domain, searching for Xian Luo. 10,000 miles north of the 3 Imperial City, Xian Luo's figure appeared. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he turned around to look in the direction of the 3 Imperial City. This pressure was from an Emperor realm expert. Not daring to hesitate, Xian Luo's figure flew out and continued to move forward. Not long after, demonic clouds appeared in the distance, and a powerful demonic aura spread out rapidly. Heaven and earth were unable to withstand it, and huge cracks appeared, shocking the world. The 8 Desolation demonic emperor, who was chasing after his son's bloodline, appeared in the demonic clouds. Although his arms were broken, his demonic aura was still incomparably terrifying. With a step, 10,000 laws were shattered. A huge foot stomped down from the sky, and demonic chi surged, crushing the void for 1,000 miles. Below, Xian Luo was shocked, and he did not dare to hesitate. He immediately crushed a jade slip, and in an instant, countless space runes appeared, engulfing the demonic body. In the sky, the huge foot stomped down, and the wilderness within 10,000 miles collapsed, and the huge wasteland collapsed inch by inch, destroyed. In the void, the 8 Desolation demonic emperor's expression turned serious, and he looked towards the northwest with a gloomy face. He actually escaped again. Without hesitation, the 8 Desolation demonic emperor spread out his divine sense, locked onto the aura of the emperor realm blood, and continued to chase. In the endless night, in the vast north of the primordial demonic domain, the battle of life and death, and no one stopped for a moment. In Xian Luo's hands, spatial treasures were destroyed one after another, and he sacrificed his royal family's treasures as the price to fight for a chance of survival. However, the aura of the 8 Desolation demonic emperor was still getting closer, and it was difficult to shake off. Unfathomable emperor realm paragons. Xian Luo's expression turned increasingly grave. He had already prepared enough backup plans, but he did not expect that he still could not shake off the 8 Desolation demonic emperor's divine sense. In the northwest of the central continent, in the boundless sea, a huge whirlpool appeared. The Reincarnation Sea, one of the 5 forbidden lands of the primordial demonic domain. Xian Luo, who was in a life-threatening situation, did not dare to hesitate and directly charged into the sea below. At this moment, vast demonic essence in the 9 heavens crashed into the sea, and the power to destroy heaven and earth blasted open the Reincarnation Sea, creating huge waves. Under the sea, Xian Luo's mouth turned red, and he was severely injured by the Emperor realm might. Facing the murderous intent, Xian Luo did not dare to hesitate. His figure rapidly descended, and he charged towards the deepest part of the sea. In the sky, the 8 Desolation demonic emperor's figure descended, and his demonic aura swept out. The shocking demonic aura crushed everything, and it continued to capture Xian Luo below. Xian Luo was shocked and he shouted. The blood chi around him exploded, and his falling speed instantly increased by several times. The blood escape technique was a taboo of the demon race. However, in a few breaths' time, the demonic emperor's speed reached the extreme, and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. In front of me, you have nowhere to go. The 8 Desolation demonic emperor snorted coldly, and the demonic aura around him took shape. A huge palm appeared, and it slammed down like a shadow. The battle of speed was beyond the king realm. A stream of light flashed past, and Xian Luo's figure flew to the deepest part of the sea. A pitch-black vortex appeared in front of him, like the mouth of a giant beast, and it swallowed the demonic emperor's body. Boom! Almost at the same time, the huge palm slammed down from the sky, and it blasted on the black vortex. In the collision, an earth-shattering sound rang out, and the sea within a radius of 10,000 miles suddenly shot up into the 9 heavens. The shocking scene shook the 5 continents. The King Realm cultivators in the primordial demon region, and the 5 continents looked in the direction of the reincarnation sea, and they were shocked. The power of the Emperor Realm. What happened? Below the reincarnation sea, the 8 Desolation demonic emperor stood in the sea. Within 10,000 miles, the sea separated, forming a spacious sea path. Below, the huge black vortex swallowed all external forces, and it gradually returned to normal. In the vortex, nothing existed, and it was difficult for divine sense to enter. The 8 Desolation demonic emperor looked down, and he frowned slightly. After thinking for a while, he did not enter rashly. The bottom of the reincarnation sea had always been the taboo of the entire primordial demon region. Even the 8 Desolation demonic emperor, who was injured, could not enter easily. Xian Luo's cultivation had not reached the emperor realm. If he entered, he would definitely die. Although it was a pity that he could not avenge Xianjun personally, since Xian Luo was dead, there was no need for him to take the risk. In the deepest part of the sea, inside the huge black vortex, Xian Luo had just entered when he felt a terrifying tearing sensation. Intense pain assaulted his body, and his consciousness gradually blurred. His consciousness dissipated, and the demonic emperor's body continued to sink deeper and deeper. Soon he completely disappeared into the darkness. Xian Luo was in danger, and his life was on the line. In the 3 Imperial City, a white-clothed figure flashed through the night, rushing directly toward the 3 Imperial Palace. Ningchen had set up a trap to divert everyone's attention. He was the first to discover the place of the celestial demon royal family's highest authority, the 3 Imperial City. The majestic Imperial Palace stood on the 90,000 stone steps. At this moment, the white-clothed figure appeared at the bottom of the steps. In a few steps, she arrived before the Imperial Palace. The celestial demon Imperial Palace was shrouded in demonic qi. It was solemn and grand. Ningchen looked at the first Kuan Emperor Palace in the middle and continued walking forward without hesitation. There was no one in the Imperial Palace. Ningchen stood quietly in the palace, not releasing his spiritual sense at all. The law of space and time flowed around Ningchen, isolating all auras. He was the only person in the world who could control 2 divine restrictions. Even a sovereign would find it difficult to detect him. Since he could not release his spiritual sense, he could only rely on his eyes to search. Ningchen walked in the palace, doing his best to search for the Phoenix clan's inherited secret technique. The Phoenix clan lost the battle, and the secret technique was lost. In the entire demon region, there were only 2 places where the Phoenix clan's secret technique was hidden. One was the celestial demon ancestral land, and the other was the 3 Imperial Palace. The celestial demon ancestral land had always been guarded by a sovereign, and it was not yet time to investigate. However, the 3 Imperial Palace was the best time to search. In the first Kuan Emperor Palace, there was a high and mighty throne. The throne of the 3 Imperial Palaces was the highest place in the mortal realm, overlooking the entire primordial demon region. After Ningchen's gaze swept across the palace, he fixed his gaze on the throne in front of him. After thinking for a while, he walked up. Whether there was a secret technique or not, the answer could only be there. Chapter 1191. At night, in the majestic 3 Imperial Palace, Ningchen looked at the first seat of the 3 Imperial Palaces and walked up. First Demon Emperor Kuan was the true imperial emperor of the demons. He gathered the fate of the celestial demons, and was the most powerful imperial emperor in the primitive demon region. Even the 7 luminaries and 8 barren demon emperors were inferior to him. Under the throne, Ningchen looked at the high and mighty throne. His steps became more and more difficult. Just one throne had a shocking pressure. First Kuan, the most powerful imperial emperor in the world, was immeasurable. His ability to mend the sky was terrifying. He was far more powerful than the other imperial emperors in the world. Now that the first imperial emperor of the demons was not here, it gave Knowing Destiny a chance to step into this place. Around the throne, purplish-black fate circled around. The imperial aura filled the air. The closer one got, the more unbearable it was. Knowing Destiny was the son of misfortune in the world. He had fought all his life. His hands were stained with the blood of everyone in the world. No matter if it was the inner world, the outer world, or the primitive demon region, there was no exception. However, after experiencing pain and suffering that ordinary people could not experience in their lives, Knowing Destiny's mental fortitude had reached a terrifying level. Even with the imperial aura, it could not stop Knowing Destiny from moving forward. Under the imperial aura, Ningchen's body began to crack. Blood seeped out, dyeing his clothes red. The pain was so clear, but Ningchen did not seem to feel it. His firm belief did not waver for a moment. The only imperial palace in the world without guards was because no one below the imperial realm could enter. Even the imperial realm cultivators would be defeated. Around Ningchen, time and space were distorted. Under the imperial aura, even the laws of time and space gradually withered. Step by step, it was difficult and strenuous. It was like a portrayal of his life. Ningchen clenched his fists and ascended step by step. At this moment, First Demon Emperor Kuan in the far east felt something. His consciousness gradually recovered. He opened his eyes and looked in the direction of the 3 imperial palaces. Someone had entered the imperial palace. Who was it? Other than 7 luminaries and 8 barons, who else could reach that position? The imperial emperor who mend the sky regained consciousness. After a few breaths, he closed his eyes and fell asleep again. In the imperial palace of the 3 imperial palaces, under the imperial aura, Ningchen ascended step by step. He was getting closer and closer to the throne. Around the throne, purplish-black heavenly demonic fate chi lingered. The imperial might became stronger and stronger, forcing people to go crazy. Boom. Just as the throne was about to reach him, the demonic chi in the air suddenly materialized. Under the boundless pressure of the emperor's aura, the hall began to shake. Under the immense pressure, the stone steps began to crumble, turning into dust. Behind Ningchen, the stone steps were dyed with blood. It was so glaring that one had to bear the burden of carrying out great deeds. The last step was right in front of him. Ningchen stepped up and looked at the throne in front of him. His eyes flashed. Ha! With success at hand, Ningchen had no time to worry about exposing his whereabouts. With a deep shout, all the strength in his body erupted. The green cauldron appeared. Under the activation of the demonic chi, the indestructible treasure of the eastern deity realm emitted a faint green light. In the next moment, the green cauldron smashed down and crashed into the throne in front of it. When the immortal artifact and the throne collided, an extremely terrifying sound rang out. The purplish-black fate energy surrounding the throne was directly dispersed. After losing the protection of the fate energy, the throne collapsed along the middle of the collision. It was an astonishing sight. The first seat of the 3 sovereigns, which could not be destroyed by divine weapons, was actually cracked by a broken green cauldron. After one hit, Ningchen picked up the green cauldron again and smashed it down. The terrifying aftershock of the collision numbed Ningchen's right arm. He took half a step back and steadied himself. The cracks on the throne became deeper and deeper. Before the vibration stopped, the green cauldron smashed down again. Boom. In the earth-shattering vibration, the battered throne finally couldn't bear it anymore and collapsed. The destroyed throne was torn apart. Suddenly, an earth-shattering dragon roar sounded. Under the collapsed throne, a 5-clawed golden dragon soared into the sky. The dragon's aura was shocking. It was completely different from the demonic emperor's aura, but it was equally powerful. It was so heavy that it was suffocating. Dragon Qi. Ningchen looked at the five-clawed golden dragon hovering in the air and narrowed his eyes. Under the first demonic emperor's throne, the fate energy of the dragon tribe was suppressed. Unexpectedly, the dragon emperor sword mark on Ningchen's right arm sensed it and began to awaken. It wanted to devour the dragon Qi. Seeing this, Ningchen threw out the green cauldron toward the five-clawed golden dragon in the air. The moment the green cauldron sealed the dragon Qi, Ningchen's figure flashed and flew into the air. He raised his hand and pressed down. The divine prohibition light flickered and sealed the immortal cauldron. Inside the green cauldron, the five-clawed golden dragon roared and kept attacking, but it couldn't break through the restraint of the immortal cauldron. As the dragon Qi disappeared, the dragon emperor sword mark gradually calmed down and fell asleep again. Seeing that the dragon emperor sword had recovered, Ningchen was secretly relieved. The dragon Qi couldn't be devoured by the dragon emperor sword. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to suppress the dragon emperor sword's aura. Who is it? At this moment, a majestic and furious voice sounded in the distant sky. The majesty of the emperor's Tao was shocking. Ningchen turned around and looked at the demonic clouds that were rapidly approaching. He sneered and left the demonic emperor palace in a flash. The 8 Desolation demonic emperor came back so quickly. It was really surprising. However, he had finished what he wanted to do. There was no need for him to stay. Not long after Ningchen left, demonic Qi surged in front of the palace of the 3 emperors. The 8 Desolation demonic emperor appeared and looked at the shocking scene in front of him. The dragon Qi. Someone had stolen the fate of the dragon clan. The dragon clan had been destroyed for a long time. Who knew this secret? The 8 Desolation demonic emperor turned around and looked at the chaotic palace of the 3 emperors. The truth was obvious. Someone had planned all of this in secret. Their goal was to steal the fate of the dragon clan that was suppressed by the palace of the 3 emperors. This person was really despicable. In the 13th Prince Palace, Ningchen appeared. Inside the palace, Gu Xingtian, who was dressed in white, stood quietly in front of the palace, waiting for Ningchen's return. After the mission, Gu Xingtian would return to the number 1 pavilion. The reason why he returned to the Crown Prince Palace was to bid farewell. Ningchen looked at the Lord of the East region and smiled. Thank you. You're welcome, Gu Xingtian said calmly. It's my fortune to know your highness. I hope we can work together in the future. See you again. See you again. Ningchen replied. Gu Xingtian nodded. His figure gradually faded and disappeared. After the Lord of the East region left, the Crown Prince Palace became quiet again. Ningchen turned around and looked at the palace of the 3 emperors in the distance. The Phoenix secret technique was not in the palace of the 3 emperors. The only possibility left was the ancestral land of the heavenly demons. Next, he had to find a way to lure the 2 demonic emperors away. However, after today's incident, the 2 demonic emperors would definitely be on guard. They would not fall into the trap so easily. Your Highness. In the palace, Inji returned. She looked at the 13th prince in front of her and bowed respectfully. Thank you for your hard work. Ningchen looked away from the palace of the 3 emperors and said calmly, I will personally go to the Insi Ghost prison to thank the Ghost clan for their help. Inji was shocked. After a long time, she came back to her senses and bowed respectfully again. She said gratefully, Thank you, Your Highness. You've been busy for so many days. You must be tired. Go and rest. Ningchen said gently. Okay. Inji nodded. She calmed herself down and turned to walk to the room in the backyard. The final battle is finally about to begin. Ningchen turned around and looked at the dark clouds in the sky. The 7th prince and the 1st prince had fallen. The rest of the princes and princesses had also lost a lot. The imperial family itself had suffered a great loss. Coupled with the death of the heavenly demon 8, the heavenly demon imperial family had lost nearly half of their combat strength. With internal and external troubles, the invincible heavenly demon imperial family was no longer the same as before. The remaining 3rd prince was not favored by the 7 luminaries demon emperor and the 8 desolation demon emperor. He did not need to get rid of him in a hurry. Keeping Xianqing alive was also a kind of restraint to the 9th prince, Xian Ke, who was the most powerful among the other princes. Now that his mission in the heavenly demon imperial city was over, it was time to prepare for the final battle. In addition, there was one thing that he was also concerned about. It was the life and death of Xianluo. Xianluo's existence was always a hidden danger. If Xianluo died in the hands of the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor, it would be good news for him. In the Reincarnation Sea, Ningchen looked at the distant Northwest Sea. The place where the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor's aura had erupted was there. He had to go there again. The night was getting darker and darker. As the cold wind blew, it added to the chill of the cold night. Under the night sky, thoughts flashed past Ningchen's eyes. His white hair danced in the wind. It was unusually dazzling. Just as the primordial demon realm was in chaos, in the Ziwei galaxy beyond the heavens, demonic aura filled the air. The leader of the 6 kings of the Scaled tribe, the Scaled King, stood in the boundless starry sky. Blood mist surrounded him and spread in all directions. The array of life sacrifice, an ancient forbidden art. Once it appeared, wherever the blood mist passed, life would be destroyed and everything would wither. With the Scaled King as the center, huge stars began to wither. Tens of thousands of creatures cried in sorrow and gradually turned into dead stars. In front of the Scaled King, a golden hairpin floated up and down. Dragons and phoenixes coiled around it. The famous hairpin of the Western King kept absorbing the spiritual qi in the blood mist. Day after day, it became stronger and stronger. It vaguely showed the power of the immemorial God Slayer. 10 days later, in the Ziwei galaxy, a figure in a silver-gray cloak walked out of thin air. Looking at the Scaled tribe king in the endless blood mist, light flashed in his calm eyes. Not long later, a white-haired demonic figure in black robes walked out of the starry sky. Beside the demonic figure, the eternal night sex woman stood quietly. She had been with him her whole life. This is the root of the future disaster of the human race. The Jiming Marquis went to the primordial demon realm to create a chance for the human race. However, it seems that the Jiming Marquis doesn't have enough time. In front of the two, the Dawn Moon House Master said calmly, "I will fight for the time he needs." The white-haired demonic figure in black robes walked forward. His cold eyes looked ahead. After so many years, his demonic nature was even more shocking. After the ancient battlefield opened, although you all have your own opportunities, you are still far from the top kings of the primordial demon realm. "I will help you in this battle," the Dawn Moon House Master said. "Thank you." Xia Ziyi didn't refuse. He took a step forward. Black feathers filled the sky. The 12 wings of sin appeared again. Demonic power swept through the 9 heavens. Chapter 1192. In the outer heavens in the Ziwei galaxy, demonic clouds filled the sky, and the stars in the sky dimmed. The calamity of the Scaled race affected several great planets with life. Life was plunged into misery and suffering. Xiansong cried. In the starry sky, with the Scaled King at the center, the stars around him began to wither. All of their life force was devoured by the life sacrifice grand array. In front of the Scaled King, the hairpin of the Western King continued to absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth from the Vitality formation. Its aura grew stronger day by day, vaguely reappearing the majesty of the ancient demon sealing tool. As everyone wept, 3 figures appeared outside the life sacrifice array. Their powerful auras were several times stronger than before. "Let's begin," the Waning Moon House Master said. "Yes." Xia Zi nodded his head and stepped forward. The demonic aura around him grew stronger and stronger. Amidst the black feathers that filled the sky, a peerless demonic weapon appeared. It was more than 6 feet long and resembled a spear. The madness of doomsday had appeared in the world once again. With the demonic tool in hand, the demonic cultivator's aura grew stronger, and his eyes gradually turned black. Not far away, the Dawn Moon House Master looked at the 6-foot-long demonic sword in the former's hand, and a strange look flashed in her eyes. This demonic weapon was exactly the same as the legendary divine weapon. The great battle was about to begin. Within the life sacrifice array, the Scaled King's expression turned serious. He gathered Yuan in his right palm and blasted it toward the sky. The surging palm essence carried the power to destroy the heavens and the earth as it shot out. Its might was shocking, and it was the first time anyone had seen it. At the front, The three people saw this and their figures flickered, dodging the king's palm. Luofei, withdraw from the battle. Xia Zi muttered softly and dashed into the life-sacrifice grand array. Not far away, the Dawn Moon House mistress clenched her right hand, and the underworld divine spear appeared. Its sharp aura actually had the might of a ruler. With the opening of the ancient battlefield, the laws of the human world were mended and the fourth level of the Grandmaster's boundary kept appearing. However, in such a short period of time, the immortal king's boundary was still unreachable. The master of the Dawn Moon Tower was a mysterious and unfathomable martial artist. Today, she displayed an ability that mortals could not compare to. The yellow springs broke through the sky and the starry sky shook. Dawn Moon shows extreme martial prowess. A sharp spear radiance pierced through the blood mist and rushed towards the Scaled Tribe King. At the center of the life-sacrifice formation, the Scaled King's eyes narrowed. He flipped his left palm and met the incoming attack with a palm. Hong Long, an astonishing collision rang out. The life-sacrifice great formation shook violently. Bloody mist scattered, and spiritual energy flowed in reverse. Seeing this, the Scaled King's expression changed slightly. With a deep roar, he used his demonic vitality to protect the formation and forcefully reverse the flow of the scattered spiritual qi. Boom. At this moment, the demonic sword slashed down. Wherever the sword qi passed, a star would shatter. The boundless and boundless sword qi slashed apart the starry sky and swept towards the king. Another attack came. The Scaled King's right palm moved again. His demonic qi swirled and blasted towards the incoming attack. An earth-shattering collision reverberated through the starry sky. The king's palm dispersed the sword qi and continued onward. As the crisis approached, Xia Zi's figure flickered and dodged the palm power. He waved the 6 feet demonic edge, and sword qi shot out again. At the same time, the Dawn Moon Brothel mistress's spinning spear condensed primordial qi to assist her sword move. The spear projection and the sword qi merged as one, and an incomparably sharp blade of light flashed through the air, slashing toward the king's stage cultivator before him. The Scaled King raised his hand to block the incoming attack. With a rumbling sound, the sharp radiance dissipated. The peak of the King realm is indeed extraordinary. The Dawn Moon Brothel master's attack was ineffective. She looked at the Scaled King and said softly, "Brothel master's strength shouldn't be limited to this. Why don't you use your full strength?" Not far away, Xia Zi continued to channel the demonic qi in his body as he spoke. When one gets old, one will always be lazy. However, it's okay to exercise once in a while. As she spoke, the sword qi around the Dawn Moon Brothel master rose rapidly. The aura of the two parts shone brightly, shocking the world. The familiar sword will rush towards him. Xia Zi subconsciously clenched his fists. After a while, he relaxed them again. Was this the price that knowing destiny had to pay? Sword will, sword moves, sword bones, everything about a swordsman was used to create a new powerful swordsman. With the appearance of the sword will, the Dawn Moon Brothel master moved. With extreme speed, she appeared before the Scaled King in an instant. The yellow spring appeared, and a sharp radiance pierced through the sky. The Scaled King waved his hand to block the spear projection. Before he could react, a silhouette in a silver-gray cloak appeared behind him. With an ancient sword in hand, the silhouette slashed at the Scaled King's back. The Scaled King's body trembled. He turned around and grabbed the ancient sword, blocking the fatal attack. It was an unbelievable scene. In front and behind the Scaled King, 2 identical silhouettes appeared. One wielded a spear while the other wielded a sword. Doppelganger technique. The Scaled King was shocked. He condensed demonic qi in his palms and struck out. Doppelganger? You've underestimated me. As the palms struck out, the 2 silhouettes disappeared and reappeared as one. With a slash of the sword, it shook the heavens and the earth. The Scaled King turned his palm to block the sword. At this moment, the same scene happened. Behind the Scaled King, a silhouette wielding a spear appeared. The Scaled King's pupils constricted. He channeled demonic qi in his palms to block the attack. At this moment, an empty space appeared in front of the Scaled King. In the blink of an eye, the demonic qi appeared. The frenzy of doomsday drew endless demonic qi and pierced it towards the Scaled King's chest. Boom. A violent collision sounded. The scales on the Scaled King's chest blocked the peerless demonic qi. It was an indestructible defense. Back off. The Scaled King was furious. With a roar, demonic chi exploded and forced the two to retreat. 10 steps away, the Dawn Moon Tower Master stopped. She looked at the Scaled King in front of her and narrowed her eyes. Shocking defensive power. It seemed like if they wanted to kill this person, they would have to find a way to break his armor. We need one more person. The Dawn Moon Tower Master said calmly. In this world, there are only 2 people with instantaneous offensive power. The Phoenix Physique at Knowing Destiny State or the Daughter of Desolation City, Mu Qingxue. Xia Zi said seriously. The Phoenix has already undergone nirvana. There's no time to wait for its successor to mature. The Dawn Moon Tower Master looked at the terrifying life sacrifice grand array and said, The Daughter of Desolation City is at the Reverence Moon Ancient Ground. Miss Luofei, please go there as soon as possible. Luofei nodded. Without any delay, her figure flashed and flew towards the Reverence Moon Ancient Ground. After Luofei left, the Dawn Moon Tower Master and Xia Zi looked back at the Scaled King in front of them. What they needed to do now was to delay until the Daughter of Desolation City arrived. In the ancient times, there were peerless kings who fought for 1,000 days in order to prove their sovereign Tao. Now, for the future of the human race, they were going to start a long war. Xia Zi, Peking Realm experts are rare. Try to experience this battle. It will benefit you immensely. The Dawn Moon Tower Master said. Xia Zi nodded. His cold eyes looked ahead. Demonic chi rose from his body, covering the sky. All these years, he owed the Knowing Destiny State a lot. Now it was time to pay it back. No matter how long the Knowing Destiny State needed, he would try his best, even if he had to pay with his life. Both sides moved, and a great battle broke out. The 2 people who charged into the blood mist fully unleashed their martial arts, shining like shooting stars. Just as the great battle started, in the primal demon realm, in the northwest of the central continent, a white-clothed figure passed by and rushed towards the Reincarnation Sea. At the center of the sea, in the Reincarnation Sea, there was a huge whirlpool that had never stopped for countless years. When the cold moon rose from the east, the white-clothed figure arrived and stood in the air. After thinking for a while, he directly rushed into the sea below. In the sea, Ning Chen's figure fell rapidly, faster and faster. A huge pressure gradually came from all directions. It was getting heavier and heavier, and gradually became unbearable. The light of the divine restriction rose around Ning Chen. He separated the pressure of the sea with the law of space, and continued to plunge downward. After an unknown period of time, in the deepest part of the sea, a huge black whirlpool appeared. It was unfathomable and swallowed all light. An indescribable sense of danger came. Ning Chen stopped and did not rashly enter. There was no sign of life around the black whirlpool. All the sea creatures seemed to be intentionally or unintentionally avoiding this place. Nothing dared to get close. After standing still for a while, sword chi gathered in Ning Chen's right hand. In the blink of an eye, the sword chi broke through the air and plunged into the black whirlpool. Silence. It was still silence. The black whirlpool swallowed the sword chi without any movement. It was shocking. Ning Chen frowned and looked serious. What a strange thing. No wonder the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor returned to the Imperial City so quickly. Even this Demon Emperor did not dare to step into it easily. If Xian Luo really entered it, he would most likely have died. However, before seeing Xian Luo's body with his own eyes, he could not be too careless. Ning Chen had important matters to attend to, so he did not stay in the sea for long. He took a step and went back the way he came. In the Yin Sea Ghost Prison, ghost chi filled the air and covered the sky. The Ghost Clan was a powerful royal clan that lived in the endless abyss. They did not like sunlight and often walked at night. The men in the clan were ugly and looked like ghosts. Therefore, they were called ghost. When the first rays of the morning sun shone, Knowing Destiny appeared in the sky above the Yin Sea Ghost Prison. His body was surging with demonic chi, powerful and heavy. Below the ghost prison, ghost chi spread out. Many Ghost Clan elites appeared and stood on both sides to welcome the arrival of the 13th prince of the Heavenly Demon Clan. Above the Ghost Clan elites, Inji stood quietly. She looked at the young man who came to the ghost prison with joy. "Greetings, Your Highness." Inji bowed. Behind her, thousands of Ghost Clan elites followed suit. The shocking formation showed the sincerity of the ghost clan. Ning Chen's figure descended from the sky and walked toward the depths of the ghost prison. Inji accompanied by his side. Her footsteps were always half a body's length to show her respect. In the depths of the ghost prison, there was a bloody waterfall. In front of the waterfall, there was a huge white bone throne. A withered old woman sat on it. Her aura was extremely powerful. Vaguely, there was a trace of royal aura. However, the old woman seemed to be too old. She could barely move her body. She sat on the white bone throne all day long and never left. In front of the old woman, the ghost clan elders stood on both sides, waiting for the arrival of the crown prince. Not long after, two figures walked in front of the formation. The young man in front had white hair and white clothes. He had an extraordinary temperament and was eye-catching. Knowing destiny showed up. The elders of the ghost clan looked at the newcomer. On the white bone throne, the old woman's eyes were still half closed. No light could be seen. After a few breaths, Ning Chen walked to the front of the bloody waterfall. He looked at the ghost clan king on the white bone throne and bowed. He said politely, "Junior Ning Chen greets Senior Ghost King." As soon as he said that, the old woman on the white bone throne slowly opened her eyes. They were turbid and deep. No one dared to look at them directly. Chapter 1193. In the Yin-Si Ghost Prison, ghost qi filled the air. A huge blood waterfall fell from the sky and washed the blood pool below day and night. In front of the blood waterfall, on the throne made of bones, the ghost king closed his eyes and pondered. His powerful aura and imperial laws could be vaguely seen. In front of the throne, Jiming walked over and bowed politely as a junior. On the white bone throne, the ghost king opened his eyes and looked at the 13th prince in front of him. He didn't say a word and looked up and down, as if he wanted to see through the young man in front of him. Ning Chen stood among the elders of the ghost clan. His expression was as calm as water. The ghost king and Jiming looked at each other. After a long time, the ghost king said in a hoarse voice, "Your Highness has come to the Yin-Si Ghost Prison in person. Please forgive me for not coming out to meet you." Ning Chen smiled and said, "Senior Ghost King is too polite. I should have come to visit earlier, but I was delayed by some personal matters. I have heard about what happened in the imperial city from Inji. Your Highness' wisdom is unparalleled in the world." The Ghost King praised. No matter how good a plan is, it needs absolute force to be implemented. If it wasn't for the Ghost Clan's help, my plan wouldn't have succeeded. In the end, the Ghost Clan deserves the credit. Ning Chen's smile became more amiable. As the two of them conversed, the elders of the ghost race exchanged glances and nodded in unison. This 13th prince was much more approachable than they had imagined. He did not have the overbearing aura that was unique to the children of nobility. "Your Highness, how is your master?" The Ghost King's turbid eyes flashed as he sat on the white bone throne. "Master is fine," Ning Chen replied. "That's good." The Ghost King sighed and said, "We haven't seen each other for many years. The 9 underworlds is still in its prime, but I'm already dying. I don't have much time left." "Senior Ghost King and Master are old friends?" Ning Chen asked in confusion. "They're both old monsters that have lived since the ancient times. We've met a few times." The Ghost King's eyes showed a look of reminiscence. Hearing this, Ning Chen looked at Inji, who was not far away. His eyes flashed with a thoughtful light. Judging from the Ghost King's attitude, she and Master definitely didn't just meet a few times. Tens of thousands of years had passed since the primordial age. Unless the devil origin had sealed their bodies, even the Ghost Clan, who had a long lifespan, could not have lived for so long. He didn't know why the Ghost King would pay such a high price to hold on until now, but if it had something to do with Master, then the truth was really intriguing. Ning Chen didn't ask about things that shouldn't be asked. He stood there quietly, waiting for the Ghost King to wake up from his reminiscence. After an unknown period of time, the Ghost King returned to his senses on the white bone throne. A self-deprecating smile flashed across his aged face as he said, "I'm old, so it's easy for me to overthink things. Sorry." Ning Chen shook his head and said, "Memories are the most important thing in a person's life. Senior Ghost King is an elder who has transcended an era. Whether it is knowledge or knowledge, this junior cannot compare to you. In the future, I will have to ask Senior Ghost King for advice. Your Highness is too polite. The Ghost King said softly. I heard that Your Highness is a rare master of swordsmanship in the world. The Ghost Clan has a decent sword, but I don't know if Your Highness will like it. While they were talking, the earth below the Sea Ghost prison rumbled. In the pervading ghost chi, an ancient sword rose up. On one side of the sword, there were ghosts of hell engraved on it, and on the other side, there were birds singing and flowers fragrant. The two sides were completely different, and their auras were different, but they were perfectly integrated. Ningchen looked at the ancient sword floating in the ghost chi, and his attention was immediately attracted. Swordsmen loved swords, and everyone knew that fate was no exception. What do you think if this sword is Inji's dowry, Your Highness? The Ghost King looked at the young man in front of him and said seriously. On both sides, the elders of the Sea Ghost prison didn't look too surprised. They already knew that marriage was the best way to consolidate the status of the Ghost Clan after all. Among the crowd, Ningchen came back to his senses and frowned slightly. He shook his head and said, Senior Ghost King, I already have a wife, and I don't plan to get married in this life. I appreciate the Ghost Clan's kindness. When the elders of the Ghost Clan heard this, their expressions all changed. Obviously, they didn't expect that the 13th prince would reject this marriage. On the white bone throne, the Ghost King stared at the young man in front of him. After a long while, he waved his right hand and handed over the ancient sword. He sighed and said, You and your master are exactly the same when it comes to relationships. Both of you are equally stubborn. The ancient sword was in front of him, but Ningchen didn't reach out to take it. This sword was extraordinary, and he couldn't accept it. This sword is called the 6 Paths of Reincarnation. It is the most precious treasure of the Ghost Clan. Today, I make the decision to give it to Your Highness. The Ghost King said. Ningchen still didn't reach out to take it. He looked at the Ghost King on the throne and said calmly, What does the Ghost Clan want? A promise from Your Highness. The Ghost King said seriously, If Your Highness achieves the Tao one day, I hope that Your Highness can forge an Emperor Divine weapon for the Ghost Clan. It will be our Ghost Clan's heirloom. Hearing this, Ningchen squinted his eyes. An Emperor Divine weapon? The Ghost Clan really had a big appetite. It was not easy for an Emperor-level divine weapon to be made by an Emperor-level supreme expert. First, it was hard to find divine materials. More importantly, Emperor-level divine weapons already had device spirits, such as the Dragon Emperor Sword, and the Devil Emperor Seal of the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor. Each Emperor-level divine weapon had the power to destroy the world. In its heyday, it was almost equal to an Emperor-level supreme expert. Ningchen looked at the ancient sword in front of him, which was filled with ghost chi. At the same time, he thought about the Ghost King's conditions. After a few breaths, he reached out his right hand and grabbed the ancient sword. When the 6 Paths of Reincarnation was in his hand, an unparalleled ghost chi soared into the sky. In an instant, the wind and clouds in the sky changed. Dark clouds appeared and covered the sky. The Ghost King's conditions were not easy. However, he needed a suitable divine weapon. The inverted water moon and astral soul had been destroyed. He could not use the 3 celestial swords casually. The 6 Paths of Reincarnation would be a great help to him. On the white bone throne, the Ghost King looked at the scene in front of him. His cloudy eyes gradually became clear. What a similar scene. In the past, his master was also so outstanding. At such a young age, he had already overshadowed countless seniors. In the past, Xianjiuyo had rejected the Ghost Clan's marriage. Today, his disciple made the same choice. She was proud and stubborn. Inji, are you satisfied now? The Ghost King asked with a sigh. Ancestor, thank you for your understanding. Inji replied softly. She did have a good impression of the Crown Prince. However, she was more afraid and admired him. If she had a choice, she would not want to marry into the Crown Prince Palace and become a tool for the Ghost Clan. While the two were talking, Ningchen's demonic chi surged out of the ghostly chi in front of them and entered the ancient sword. The ancient sword's aura changed instantly. The King Realm experts in the primeval demon realm looked at the Sea Ghost prison with serious expressions. The 6 Paths of Reincarnation, the Ghost Clan's divine weapon, had appeared. The 6 Paths of Reincarnation was definitely one of the top 3 divine weapons in the primeval demon realm. It was on par with the heart-burning demon sword of the heavenly demon 4th prince. The Ghost Clan is really willing to spend a lot to recruit the 13th prince. In the heavenly demon ancestral land, the 7 Brilliance demon emperor looked to the north and said. Not far away, the 8 Desolation demon emperor fell silent. The 13th prince's strength would undoubtedly increase greatly after obtaining the 6 Paths of Reincarnation. However, it had nothing to do with him. The 7 Brilliance demon emperor looked at the 8 Brilliance demon emperor's gloomy expression and sighed softly. It seemed that Xianzhen's death had a great impact on the 8 Desolation demon emperor. Xianzhen was indeed one of the best among the princes of the theocrats. Unfortunately, he was born in a chaotic world and could not mature. A moment later, the 7 Brilliance demon emperor withdrew his thoughts and said, 8 Desolation. It's time to come to a decision regarding the royal clan's unification. The 8 Desolation demon emperor shuddered when he heard the words. He said, Who are you going to choose? It doesn't matter who I choose. What's important is that the person who inherits the fortune of our clan must be able to provide us with the strength we desperately need. The 7 Brilliance demon emperor said in a deep voice. The 8 Desolation demon emperor fell silent for a long time before he said, Xianqing, Xianke, and the disciple of 9 serenities are the most outstanding among the princes and princesses. Xianke's mother doesn't have the bloodline of the Sky Demon royal clan, so the power of her bloodline is flawed. Meanwhile, the disciple of 9 serenities is from the human race. Even though he has been purified by the heavenly demon pool, the purity of his bloodline is still inferior to the princes and princesses. The only one left is Xianqing. However, you haven't forgotten about the deaths of the 12th prince and the 5th prince, right? Even though the Sky Demon royal clan is cruel, what the 3rd prince did was a little too much. What do you mean? The 7 Brilliance demon emperor said with a frown. If I have to choose, I'd rather choose between Xianke and the disciple of 9 serenities. The 8 Desolation demon emperor said in a deep voice, Xianke is your son. He's quite outstanding compared to the other princes. What do you think? The 7 Brilliance demon emperor let out a sigh and said, Xianke isn't bad, but that's all. He's still too weak compared to the real peerless geniuses. I believe you can see it clearly. Are you talking about the disciple of 9 serenities? The 8 Desolation demon emperor said softly, the disciple of 9 serenities is indeed as outstanding as his master. However, his bloodline and background are still unavoidable. If we can't make a decision, let's let the 3 of them compete fairly, the 7 Brilliance demon royal clan said. The 5 forces are at war right now. Why don't we send all 3 of them out? Whoever can stop the 5 Imperials' attacks will be the winner in the future. The 8 Desolation demon emperor wore a stern look. He nodded after some time. It was the only way now. Messenger. Present. The messenger showed up in the ancestral land and knelt on the ground. Summon the 9th prince and the 13th prince to the palace. Affirmative. The messenger accepted the order and left the ancestral land. Half a day later, a black demon emperor badge appeared above the Yin Sea Ghost prison in the 9th prince's mansion. Its powerful demonic aura shook the world. The demon emperor has ordered the 9th prince to come to the palace immediately. In the 9th prince's mansion, Xianke's eyes flickered when he heard the order. The day he had been waiting for had finally arrived. In the deepest part of the Yin Sea Ghost prison, Ningchen looked at the demon emperor badge floating in the sky with a grin. A moment later, he withdrew his gaze and looked at the emperors of the ghost tribe in front of him. He said, I'm sorry, I must return now. Chapter 1194. In the 3 sovereign palace of the heavenly devil imperial city, Ningchen walked over. Xianke also arrived not far away. The two looked at each other without much interaction. Demonic chi surged in front of the sovereign palace. Demonic clouds covered the entire sky, blocking out the sun. Below, in front of the 2 sovereign palaces, there were sovereigns. Their powerful auras distorted the heavens and the earth. Greetings, demon sovereign. The 2 bowed and said respectfully, In front of the 2 sovereign palaces, the 7 luminaries demon sovereign and the 8 desolation demon sovereign looked at the 2 below and said, Old 913, are you willing to lead the army? For the sake of our race, we will not hesitate. Xian Ke and Ningchen bowed and replied. Very good. The 7 luminaries demon sovereign said in a deep voice, in the 5 battlefields, our race is at a disadvantage. Not long ago, Great Commander Xian Mo led the imperial army to the west. In the southeast battlefield, Xian Qing led the army to support us. In the remaining 3 battlefields, the sorcerer tribe in the north is the fiercest. Which one of you is willing to go? Below the stone steps, Ningchen and Xian Ke looked at each other. Neither of them said anything. The sorcerer tribe in the north and the 12 sorcerer queens had all moved out. Their strength was shocking. Without a doubt, they were the most tragic side in the 3 battlefields. Xian Quebec, in front of the 3 sovereign palace, the 8 desolation demon sovereign said, I give you the 9 king pearl. Are you willing to lead the heavenly devil imperial family to the north? Below, Xian Ke's expression changed when he heard the words. A hint of struggle flashed across his eyes. Soon he calmed down and bowed respectfully, yes Xian Ke. The 8 desolation demon sovereign raised his hand. 9 black demonic pearls flew out from the surging demonic chi and entered the 9th prince's body. As soon as the 9 king pearl entered Xian Ke's body, his aura multiplied. The powerful demonic aura shook the entire 3 sovereign palace. On the side, a cold smile flashed across Ning Chen's face. It seemed that the 2 demon sovereigns had no choice after Xian Zhen's death. They had to support a new prince. However, this was also good. Xian Ke was bestowed with the 9 king pearl, and the power behind him would expand quickly. He would have the capital to contend against Xian Qing. No matter how prosperous the dynasty was, it would not be able to withstand the consumption of the royal power in fighting. The Sky Devil royal family had experienced the battle between the Crown Prince, the 3rd Crown Prince, and the 7th Crown Prince. Adding to the fact that he had deliberately added fuel to the fire, the Sky Devil royal family's vitality had been greatly damaged. Now that Xian Ke had been bestowed the 9 king pearl, as long as he had military merits, he would naturally become the Crown Prince. The new infighting would push this colossus into the abyss even faster. 13 What about you? Do you have any suggestions? Asked the 8 desolation devil emperor. Ningchen lowered his head and respectfully said, This subject requests to head to the southern battlefield to resist the invasion of the scaled race. Oh. The 8 desolation demon emperor narrowed his eyes and asked, Why not the east? Demon emperor, Prince Xian Lai is guarding the eastern battlefield. Even if the divine capital mountain sends out all of its troops, Prince Xian Lai should have a way to deal with it. On the other hand, the scaled race in the south is being pressured by the 5 kings of the scaled race. The Sky Devil royal family has sent the least forces to the south. If we do not send reinforcements soon, there might be unexpected changes. Under the stone steps, Ningchen analyzed the situation according to the current situation. In front of the 3 emperors' palace, the 7 luminaries demon emperor and the 8 desolation demon emperor looked at each other after hearing Ningchen's words. After a long while, the 7 luminaries demon emperor said, As you have requested, from today onwards, you will lead 10,000 red-armored soldiers to the south to provide reinforcements. Yes. Ningchen bowed and accepted the order. After the order was given, the 2 demon emperors did not linger in front of the imperial palace. Their figures faded and disappeared. After the 2 demon emperors left, Ningchen and Xian Ke stood up and left together. 9th royal brother, congratulations. Ningchen said on the way. Xian Ke nodded and said emotionally, Thank you for your help, 13th royal brother. 9th royal brother deserves all of this. Ningchen smiled and said, There is still one last step. As long as 9th royal brother can return with contributions, you will soon be conferred the title of Crown Prince. Thank you for your kind words, 13th royal brother, Xian Ke replied. As the 2 chatted, a fork appeared in front of them. The 2 parted ways and walked toward their respective mansions. In the 13th royal prince's palace, Yingji waited quietly. Behind her, 10 figures surrounded by ghostly chi were faintly discernible. Their powerful auras were shocking. The Yinhai 10 ghosts were the warriors of death that the ghost race had secretly cultivated. Each of them had a cultivation close to the king realm. When they worked together, they were not afraid even when facing a king realm expert. During the trip to the ghost race, Ningchen had promised that he would forge an emperor weapon for the ghost race in the future. The ghost race had also decided to help Ningchen fight for the throne and sent out the 10 ghosts as guards. Soon Ningchen returned. Yingji went forward and bowed respectfully, saying, "Your Highness." "Prepare to depart," Ningchen said calmly. "Yes, Your Highness," Yingji said respectfully. Half a day later, 100 miles south of the third royal city, 10,000 red armored army soldiers had gathered in the camp of the Red Armored Army. In front of the army, a white-haired figure stood quietly. When the time came, he raised his right hand and ordered the army to go south. The vast sky demon army went south. Demonic chi surged, shocking the world. At the same time, the 9th prince led the black armored army to the north. The black flood covered the sky and made it hard for people to breathe. With the 2 princes going out, the third royal city quieted down again. All the forces temporarily stopped and chose to wait and see. The 9th prince was given the Pearl of the 9 Kings, which was out of everyone's expectations. This also meant that the 9th prince was not far from being conferred the title of Crown Prince. It seemed that the battle for the throne would not end so soon. With the 9th prince's appearance, a new tripartite balance of forces would be formed. They had to wait patiently and not stand on the wrong side. On the battlefield in the south, the 5th king of the scale race led the army forward. Their attacks were swift and fierce, forcing the Sky Demon army to retreat. In front of the Sky Demon army, the 6th king of the Sky Demon army, Xian Xiao, stood quietly. His left shoulder was stained with blood. It was obvious that he had suffered heavy injuries. The black jade flute in Xian Xiao's hand was already cracked. After the continuous battles, even the 6th king of the Sky Demon army was showing signs of exhaustion. Behind the Sky Demon army, the hinterland of the primordial demonic field was the last checkpoint. One step back and the people would be plunged into misery and suffering. Xian Xiao did not retreat anymore. He blocked the front with his body, not allowing the scale race to take even half a step forward. The battle started again. The 5th king of the scale race joined forces and surrounded the 6th king of the Sky Demon army. "Xian Xiao, you're done for," the leader of the 5 kings, King Li, said with a cold expression. Xian Xiao's expression turned cold. The demonic flute in his hand rose into the air. The wind howled and the demonic sound echoed. The black sound waves rippled out in circles. It was originally a formless thing, but at this moment it was tainted with demonic chi and had the power to stir people's hearts. When the demonic sound entered their ears, the 5th king of the scale race felt the blood chi around him surge violently. Even if his defense was unparalleled in the world, he could not completely stop the sound from corroding him. "Ha!" King Li roared. The deafening roar resounded through the battlefield. The kings regained their consciousness for a short while. They did not dare to be careless and immediately rushed forward. The battle started. Demonic chi and demonic chi collided. The aftershock caused blood to spurt from the corner of Xian Zhao's mouth as he retreated a few steps. 1 against 5, Prince Xian Xiao, who was not good at close combat, showed signs of defeat. When the battle between the 2 armies started, crimson demonic clouds came from thousands of miles away. In front of the demonic clouds, a white-clothed figure stood in the air. Demonic chi surged around her body. She was abnormally powerful. "Your Highness." At the back, Yingji looked at the battle in the distance and said, "Do you need me to lead some people to go ahead and support them?" "No need," Ningchen said indifferently. "Every king of the Sky Demon Imperial family is not easy to deal with. Just march as usual." "Yes." Yingji heard and did not ask any more questions. She accepted the order. Thousands of miles away, the sound of battle shook the sky. Prince Xian Xiao, who was fighting 1 against 5, was getting more and more injured. However, the pride of a king would not allow him to retreat. In the void, the demonic flute floated up and down. Without Prince Xian Xiao, its power was greatly reduced. Bang! Suddenly, a palm imprinted on the demonic cultivator's back. Prince Xian Xiao spat out blood and staggered a few steps. While the generals were fighting, the armies below were also fighting fiercely. On the ground, Soldiers from both armies fell continuously, dyeing the ground red. After several battles, less than 50% of the 100,000 Sky Demon army was left. The checkpoint that was built with blood was about to be lost today. Sky Demon 7 Transformations, Royal Sky Dome. Forced to the limit, Xianxiao roared and the demonic figure appeared out of nowhere. The 5,000 feet long demonic figure punched down with earth-shattering might. With a boom, a king of the scaled race could not dodge in time, and was directly hit by the giant fist. His body exploded. The full power punch had exhausted its power. Xianzhao's chest was exposed. Seeing this, Prince Li's figure flashed and a palm imprinted on the former's chest. Arg! With a muffled groan, the giant demonic figure retreated a few steps. The corner of its mouth was dyed red again. The demonic figure was heavily injured and instantly collapsed. Xianzhao's figure recovered to its original state. In the void, demonic blood sprinkled down and dyed the jade flute red. Doomsday Prelude. As the restrictive spell was activated, the whole world froze. Blood gushed out from Prince Xianzhao's body as he used the demonic blood as a sacrifice to activate the Doomsday Prelude. At this moment, a shocking scene appeared. Between heaven and earth, a black demonic sound spread rapidly. Wherever it passed, all life was extinguished and everything withered. The destructive power was indestructible. The 4 kings of the scaled race trembled and blood splashed out. The situation of the battle was reversed. For the first time, the 4 kings showed signs of defeat. The head of the 4, Prince Li, suddenly released a surge of demonic energy that did not belong to him. It was so powerful that it vaguely resembled an emperor's aura. The demonic energy blocked the demonic sound, and Prince Li's figure stopped. His figure immediately flew out, and a powerful palm imprinted on Xianzhao's chest. Heavily injured again, Xianzhao's figure flew out. Blood sprinkled all over his body like rain, dazzling to the eye. Kill. Not wanting the situation to change again, Prince Li's figure flashed quickly. He activated his palm and the demonic energy hidden in it surged, shocking the world. In the void, the demonic flute sensed it and descended from the sky to protect its master. However, a terrifying collision sounded, and the demonic flute shattered. The moment the demonic weapon was destroyed, a terrifying spiritual energy exploded, and blasted the kings of the scaled race away. The dazzling vermilion color dyed the scales on their chests red. In this fierce battle, both sides suffered heavy losses. It was difficult to determine the outcome. At this moment, in everyone's vision, a red demonic cloud that covered the sky rapidly approached. The powerful demonic aura shocked everyone present. Not good. Seeing this, the 4 kings of the scaled race's expressions changed. The heavenly demon red armored army. In front of the red armored army in the distance, a white-clothed figure stood quietly. She raised her right hand, and a ghostly aura surged out. But in the ghostly aura, an extremely powerful divine weapon appeared out of thin air. Boundless and endless evil aura filled the air. A sinister wind blew, and the surrounding sky immediately darkened. In the next moment, the 6 paths of reincarnation flew out and pierced through the void, landing directly in the battle. Chapter 1195. In the southern battlefield of the primordial demon region, the flames of war raged. At the moment of crisis, the heavenly demon red armor army arrived, shocking the kings of the scaled tribe. In front of the red armor army, an ancient sword filled with ghostly aura broke through the air and entered the battlefield. A powerful sword aura filled the air, causing the sky to change color. In the blink of an eye, a plain-clothed figure walked out of the battlefield. With his right hand on the ancient sword, he glanced at the kings of the scaled tribe and said, "Everyone, please retreat." The casual voice did not carry any threat, but it had a majesty that could not be refused. With the king's sword in hand, he was invincible. Looking at the young man who appeared in the battlefield, King Li's expression was unusually gloomy. After weighing the pros and cons, he said, "Retreat." The reinforcements of the heavenly demon army had arrived. There was no point in continuing the battle. The young man in front of him was not weak. He and the other 3 kings were all heavily injured. There was no need to fight him now. With the order, the scaled tribe army immediately retreated like the tide. King Li and the other 3 kings stared at the reinforcements of the heavenly demon army and retreated after a few breaths. As the scaled tribe retreated, Ningchen waved his hand and put away the ancient sword. He looked at the heavily injured heavenly demon 6th prince and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, 6th uncle." Seeing the heavenly demon 6th prince face to face for the first time, Ningchen's eyes were slightly different. This Prince Xian Xiao did not look like a demon at all, but an ordinary scholar in the mortal world. Plain clothes and a scholarly face. If not for the blood stains on his body and the faintly discernible powerful demonic aura, no one would believe that the person in front of them was a demon prince. While Ningchen was observing Xian Xiao was also sizing up the young man in front of him. He had heard of Nine Nether's disciple more than once, but it was his first time meeting him. The young man in front of him had an extraordinary temperament. He was somewhat similar to Nine Nether when he was young. It was a pity that he was a human. Otherwise he would not lose to his master in the future. No need to be so polite. "Thank you, martial nephew." After sizing him up for a moment, Xian Xiao withdrew his gaze and said softly, "You're too kind, 6th uncle." Ningchen replied, "This is what I should do. Martial uncle is heavily injured. Why don't you return to the camp and rest? I'll handle this. Then I'll have to trouble martial nephew." Xian Xiao nodded and descended from the sky. In the void, Ningchen looked down at the remnants of the heavenly demon army that had just gone through a great battle. He said indifferently, "Everyone return to the city and rest for the time being." With this order, the army immediately retreated toward the 9 Continents city. The majestic demon army retreated back to the 9 Continents city. The demonic chi that covered the sky also disappeared, and the sky became clear again. Within the 9 Continents city, the army was stationed. The remaining 40,000 demon army soldiers and 10,000 red armor soldiers barely reached 50,000. Ningchen walked over to the commander's tent. Looking at the surging demonic chi in front of him, he stopped and waited patiently. After an unknown period of time, the surging demonic chi around the commander's tent gradually calmed down. A calm voice rang out from within the tent. "Martial nephew, please come in." Outside the tent, Ningchen lifted the curtain and walked in. In the commander's tent, Prince Xianxiao sat quietly. When he saw the young man enter the tent, a gentle smile appeared on his face. "6th martial uncle." Ningchen bowed and asked with concern, "How's martial uncle's injury?" "I'm fine for now." Xianxiao smiled and said, "How is Nine Nether?" "Master, everything is fine," Ningchen replied. Xianxiao stood up and looked at the young man in front of him. His face was full of emotions. "Back then, your master and I had the best relationship. However, after the ancient times, the world changed drastically. In order to avoid disaster, I sealed myself in the demonic source, while your master went to the heavenly demon pool and sank himself into oblivion. Since then, I have never seen him again." Ningchen listened quietly and did not interrupt. He did know a thing or two about the good relationship between Prince Xianxiao and his master. However, his master did not mention these things. For some reason, his master did not seem to be willing to talk about the things of their era. "Martial nephew, how long have you been cultivating?" Xianxiao looked at Ningchen and asked softly. "More than 100 years. Ningchen said truthfully. 100 years. Xianxiao murmured softly. Then he laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "Those princes and princesses of my clan called themselves geniuses. Compared to you, it's really a joke." To have such amazing martial arts attainments in 100 years was an extremely terrifying thing. Ningchen was silent and did not say much. He was not a martial arts genius. In the beginning, he was just curious about martial arts. However, in order to protect the people he cherished in his heart, he had to walk step by step until today. "Your Highness." At this moment, Inji's voice came from outside the tent. There was a hint of urgency in her tone. Ningchen turned around and looked outside the tent. He frowned and said, "What's the matter?" "There are many unidentified people in the city acting sneakily. We suspect that they are spies of the Scaled tribe. Should we arrest them?" Inji asked. "No need." Ningchen said lightly, "Keep them. These people will come in handy soon." "Yes." Outside the tent, Inji accepted the order and left. Martial nephew, do you have a good plan for keeping these spies? Xian Xiao asked. The rule of war is know thyself and know thy enemy, and you will never be defeated. The Scaled tribe sent spies into the city to investigate the situation and movements of our army. As long as there is a way to avoid or deceive the Scaled tribe's spies, the Scaled tribe's army will be blinded and at our mercy, Ning Chen said coldly. Hearing this, Xian Xiao narrowed his eyes and said, Martial nephew, please elaborate. 3,000 miles away, in the Scaled tribe's camp, the four kings were sitting in their tents with their eyes closed, trying their best to heal their wounds. Outside the king's tent, a large number of soldiers were guarding it. In the horizon, the sun was setting in the west. Day gradually passed and night came. The cold moon rose from the east. The moonlight shone on the border, making the place cold. In the Scaled tribe's camp, heavily armored soldiers came and went, seriously guarding against the night attack of the Sky Demon army. Just as the night was getting darker and most of the soldiers began to rest, a surge of demonic aura came from the north. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! An anxious cry rang through the night sky. The Scaled tribe soldiers who had just fallen asleep woke up with a start. They rushed out of their tents and picked up their weapons to defend against the enemy. However, after almost an hour, the expected Sky Demon army did not come. All the Scaled tribe soldiers heaved a sigh of relief. Exhausted, they returned to their tents to rest. On the city wall of Jiuzhou City, a silhouette in plain clothes stood quietly, looking at the Scaled tribe's camp in the distance. Behind Jiming, Inji followed quietly without a word. She had followed Her Highness for so long, but she had never seen Her Highness take a break. Although a martial arts expert had much more energy than ordinary people, it was impossible for them not to rest all the time. From entering the Sky Demon royal family to attaining their current status, Her Highness' achievements in just a few years were unreachable by others. Previously, she had always thought that it was all because of the support of the demonic Emperor of the Abyss. However, after following Her Highness for so many days, she realized that there was no such thing as success without a reason. Her Highness had put in so much effort in every step. In the horizon, the cold moon moved west. The night gradually passed. In the east, the first rays of the morning sun shone on the silhouette in plain clothes. The godlike figure stood on the city wall, attracting the attention of all the soldiers in the city. At this moment, the words 13th Prince were imprinted in the hearts of all the Sky Demon soldiers. A prince who was willing to defend the city with them without sleep and rest might really be able to lead them to defeat the Scaled tribe's army. In the city, in front of the commander's tent, Xian Xiao walked out and looked at the young man on the city wall. There were many princes in the Sky Demon royal family, including several princes. However, he did not particularly like Xianqing, Xiankei, or Xianzhen. The reason was simple. The Sky Demon royal family was cold by nature, and the princes and princes of the next generation were even more outstanding in this aspect. It was chilling. The Celestial Devil Imperial family needed a kind-hearted emperor to appear and change everything. Nine Nether's disciple was the best candidate for that. On the city wall, Ning Chen looked back at the army in the city. Although he looked calm, deep in his eyes, there was an unusual coldness. Xian Xiao did not know that Ji Ming could only bring destruction to the Sky Demon royal family, not rebirth. At dawn, Ning Chen walked down from the city wall and walked towards the camp. In front of the commander's tent, Xian Xiao looked at the young man coming from afar and smiled. Thank you for your hard work. It's my pleasure, Ning Chen said softly. It's you who needs to recover as soon as possible. If the Scaled race army comes, our army can't do without your strength. Xian Xiao nodded and said, my injuries are not serious. Even if I can't recover in a short time, as long as I suppress my injuries with a secret method, I can still fight with all my strength. However, the Three Souls flute that can suppress the Scaled race's absolute defense has been destroyed. It will be disadvantageous for us in the next battle. Ning Chen frowned and said, it can only be the Three Souls flute? I have a guqin called Yama. Can it be used? Oh. Xian Xiao was surprised. Let me have a look. Ning Chen waved his hand. In the turbulent demon chi, a guqin appeared. Behind him, Inji saw it and felt a chill all over her body. She unconsciously took half a step back. Xianxiao looked at the woman behind 13, and was not too surprised. At the same time, this Yama was obviously of a higher level. Although this guqin is damaged, if repaired properly, it will be better than the Three Souls flute. In the next battle, are you willing to lend this guqin to me temporarily? Xianxiao said seriously. Of course. Ningchen held the guqin with both hands and gave it to Yama. His tone was sincere. I only know a little about music. This guqin can only be used to its fullest in your hands. Xianxiao did not refuse. He took the guqin and looked at the killing weapon in his hand. He could not hide his pity. The guqin was a good one, but it was stained with too much blood. However, it was also because of the blood that this killing weapon was created. I can't lend it to you for free. This is for you. As he spoke, an incomplete scroll appeared in Xianqing's hand. It looked inconspicuous. However, the words on the scroll were powerful and shocking. Prelude to the Doomsday. The ancient forbidden technique was one of the forbidden chapters of the Prelude to the Gods. Now that it was in front of him, it was hard to look away. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.